Called Jurassic World Dominion from NBC's parent company, NBC Universal. I play the so-called brilliant Dr. Ian Malcolm, a role that I first took on, believe it or not, 30 years ago in the film called Jurassic Park. I don't know if you ever caught up with that picture, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually play Claire Deering, who has a soft spot for saving dinosaurs and protecting her family.
Oh, I love that part so much in your capable hands. Now listen, this film, Jurassic World Dominion, is the epic conclusion, we like to say, of the Jurassic era. And we're pretty excited to be hosting this, let's call it Today All Day special, all about our little picture.
Yes, in the next half hour, we'll be highlighting interviews with our fellow actors, and we'll take you behind the scenes with our director, Colin Trevorrow.
And later on, we're going to have some nostalgia for you, a kind of a fun throwback clip from the Today Show vault with our friend, the one and only, the great Sam Neill. Geez, I can't wait for you to see that.
But let's get up to what's first up, shall we? I got to witness my pal Chris Pratt do a stellar job playing fearless dino whisperer Owen Grady. He's back in this final installment to the Jurassic franchise and spoke about what it was like to bring this story to life.
It's been 4 years since dinosaurs were unleashed on the world in the last Jurassic World film.
Well, now in the latest and final installment, Jurassic World Dominion, humans are doing their best to coexist with those massive creatures.
That includes Chris Pratt's character Owen, who in one thrilling sequence finds himself hunted by some terrifying dinos. Take a look. Okay.
You were
Chris,
just saying that was one of your craziest
action,
action scenes.
Tell us
Absolutely one of the craziest action sequences I've ever been a part of or ever seen. You know, you go to like a fireworks display, like 4th of July, New Year's, there's always the finale.
Yeah.
You're like waiting for it, and then boom, you're like, oh, this is it, this is the finale.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole movie is that. It's like 30 years in the making, you know. This is the 6th Jurassic film, and it's the end of this franchise.
Is it really the end?
Yeah,
Come on.
I really do think it's the end.
Wow.
Yeah, you've got the legacy cast back: Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, plus the cast of Jurassic World, all like converge. Our storylines converging in a way that is very much a finale.
What was it like having the old cast back?
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was actually insane. Like, first time I saw Jurassic Park, I was 13.
Yeah.
I had no idea I was ever going to be an actor. Like, if you'd have told me that I would be like doing this, I'm on the there's no way I would have believed it. And these folks were like cemented in my mind as icons. And so to be working with them, it's a dream come true.
When you say there's no way to believe it, I mean, you were actually living in a van, right?
Yeah.
You were kind of homeless, I guess.
The home was kind of my van,
Homeless-ish.
so
Okay.
I did have
life,
a van.
it's a thing.
I mean, just to imagine going from that to this.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, and it's been now 23 years, and looking back on it, it's kind of mind-blowing. And
How'd you get discovered? You were in Hawaii
Yeah.
waiting tables.
I was in Hawaii waiting tables. I had done theater. I saw you had the cast of Mrs. Doubtfire
Yeah.
on Broadway. It was like my dream to be on Broadway, to do theater. I did it as a kid growing up. I loved it. Always loved to be a performer, and it was never real to me. It was the way a kid would dream of being like, you know, an astronaut. Like, sure, someone gets to go to space, but it's probably not going to be me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just happened to wait on a director who gave me an opportunity and gave me an audition, and, you know, I got paid $700, and the door got opened a crack, and I was determined to barrel through it.
Going back to Jurassic World with the original legacy cast, I heard you guys were sort of in like a summer camp together because it was a COVID shoot, so you guys were all like bunking up in the same hotel?
Exactly, yeah. Everyone was bunked up in the same hotel. It was really kind of extraordinary. It reminded me of very early on in my career, you do these independent movies, like the movie that got me into Hollywood. I got paid $700. We all stayed in the same hotel room, you know, and there's this sort of like summer camp vibe. You build these relationships that you think are going to last forever, and it's like, it feels kind of amazing. And oftentimes in these bigger budget movies, you lose a little sense of that magic because everyone's got their own trailer and they're off doing their own thing. They fly in, you might not see them until they're standing on their mark, but it was not the case with this film. And that was one of the amazing silver linings through this process. Shooting in COVID with all of the protocols in place, we were actually able to hang out every single night, have every meal together.
That's a cool way to end it, to close the story.
Yeah, it was really kind of a blessing amongst sort of the difficulty that everyone faced over the past couple of years.
Chris Pratt, he's pulchritudinous, isn't he? He's fantastic. Hey, now let's turn to an interview with this lovely, lovely lady. And as Bryce mentioned, she plays Claire Deering, the longtime love interest to Chris Pratt's character named Owen.
The two of us take on some wild dinosaur battles in this part of the story, and I told the third hour of today all about it.
In the latest installment, Jurassic World Dominion, dinosaurs now inhabit the Earth with humans after their home is destroyed. Bryce Dallas Howard returns as Claire, who quickly learns coexisting is not going to be a walk in the park. Oh, yeah, this is so great. Bryce, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Too. Thank you for having me.
Wow, a lot of action, a lot of stunt work, a lot of.
Yes.
Obviously, you know, you've been invested in this character. How difficult is it saying goodbye to Claire when this is done, all said and done?
Honestly, difficult. And it's just kind of hit me in the last few days because the movie is coming out this weekend. And you know, what's so great about getting to do press is that you finish the movie, but you're going to see folks, whether it's in a year or a couple years. And so we've all been reunited running around doing press together, and it's slowly winding down. And so I'm a little like,
After this, then what? But I mean, we had Laura Dern, we had Jeff Goldblum on the show earlier today. You've got B.D. Wong in the movie, Sam Neill. I mean, the originals. Did you watch the original?
Yeah.
So did it resonate with you when you're actually on screen?
Yeah. I mean, I will never forget the experience that I had watching Jurassic Park opening weekend in the theaters in 1993. I was 12 years old.
Was it 93?
It was 93. My parents saw the movie. They weren't going to let me because it was PG-13 and I was 12. And
follow the rules.
Exactly. And then they came home that night, and my dad said, I remember this distinctly. He said, "You've got to see this movie in the theaters. You cannot miss this. Cinema has changed forever. This is one of the most
That's Ron
incredible
Howard. I think that when Ron Howard says that.
Yes. Yeah. You listen.
And so now, it's interesting. There's this theme of female empowerment that we don't typically see in the action movie space. Talk to me a little bit about that. How did that become part of the film?
It so easily. There was no agenda. It's just that the same amount of men and women were cast.
And you get to show what you can do.
That's amazing.
What a concept.
It's incredible. I know. Just
Isn't that interesting? Because we're thinking, oh my gosh, this is all about women and blah. But it's like, no, actually, it's just equal, and we're just showing how we roll.
Yeah. We're just a team.
just
We're all
awesome.
teaming up.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's. I mean, that kind of ethos, I think, is intrinsic in the Jurassic franchise, starting with the original book written by Michael Crichton, and of course this incredible character, Dr. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I remember as a girl being affected watching her performance and just being like, oh my gosh, she is amazing.
Bad, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you having fun yet? I am. Hey, there's much more still to come. Up next, my chat here on Today with the delightful Laura Dern.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel calm?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to our Jurassic World Dominion Today All Day special. This movie is quite special because it includes actors like this guy right here who starred in the original Jurassic Park in 1993.
Yeah, well, I had a little part in it beside Laura Dern. And she and I sat down, by the way, with our Today Show friends to chat about our triumphant, if I may, return to a world filled with dinosaurs.
Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum, they helped launch a global phenomenon when they unleashed Jurassic Park on the world in 1993. Y'all, it is 30 years later, just about, and we're back. Y'all, welcome back. It's so good to see you.
Oh, it's so beautiful to see you
Okay,
and see everybody.
by the way, your crowd is so pumped up for this movie. I mean, the first movie was about the dinosaurs and all that, but it was more about the chemistry. So here you are 30 years later, the band is back together. Will you tell us what it was like, what the moments were like reuniting?
Well, and Jeff's heard this. One of my favorite memories is walking onto set, and we'd all seen each other, but I saw our beloved Sam Neill with Dr. Alan Grant's hat on, and I turned to my right, and here comes Jeff in Dr. Ian Malcolm's black leather jacket. And we got into a Jeep together for our first scene together, and we looked out the windshield. Our director was taking a photo. We were getting ready to do the shot, and crew members were gathered around. Some were smiling or clapping. Several people started crying, and we got very emotional just because we've all shared this first movie together. You know, we all grew up with it, and there was something very nostalgic about being back together.
Jeff, we had Chris Pratt on. He was pinching himself that he was with you guys. A lot of that.
Pinch himself a lot. I noticed that.
Yes,
What's the matter with that guy?
A lot of these guys, though, they grew up watching it too, and now they're kind of awestruck to be starring with you. But what makes this magic last, Jeff, for 30 years?
Well, what, Jurassic magic? Laura Dern, you know, the people, and you know, Sam Neill. Well, it came from a great book. Michael Crichton wrote that book a long time ago, interesting ideas, and then Steven Spielberg turned it into a good movie. And the technology coincided with our first movie so that they brought dinosaurs to life like they'd never been. But then, I'm serious, you know, Laura Dern, you know, those characters, you know, beautiful. Laura can't do anything that she had already done. So much. You'd seen all those things she'd done before. She'd already done Smooth Talk and Ramblin' Rose and Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart. And we started.
My agent,
well,
and also
we
my
started around the same time. We did a movie. You know, you in 1973, you were doing Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and I was doing Death Wish. We've been in movies about the same amount of time.
Well, and Jeff, at this beautiful stage in your career, you've got two babies.
Yes.
Ages 5.
5 and like yours, and almost 7.
5 and 7.
You've got 3 and 5.
I've got 3 and 5. But I have a question. Having your kids watch this movie, have you debated whether or not your 5-year-old is going to be watching this?
Yes. And we have plans. We bought tickets for this coming weekend when it opens. We're going to go, and they've never been to a movie theater before.
Aren't you a little worried they're going to be kind of scared of these crazy
I
dragons?
am worried. They're sensitive. They say, we're not scared of anything, you know. But we showed them Jurassic Park and the second one on TV.
Yeah.
And, you know, the first time, they've seen it a couple of times. The first time they were, you know, but if I said, I'll be close, if you get scared, I'll walk you out.
And they were with us, the most amazing boys in the world, and his amazing wife, Emily. We all lived together for these 5 months in the middle of the pandemic to make the film. So they also kind of know the behind the scenes.
They went into the creature shop and saw the things being made, you know. And
I love that. Laura, on the cover of Variety magazine, who graced the cover, but Miss Laura Dern. Laura, I think this is so incredible, first of all, that you're on the cover. Secondly, I just think your character, it's so funny. Sometimes you play a character and you think, well, I'm playing a character for a minute. When you played your character in Jurassic World, the first one, so many young girls made career choices based on this character. They chose marine biology. Do people come up to you and talk about that?
They do, and I was just sharing that an amazing congresswoman recently said to me that it was Dr. Ellie Sattler that made her believe that she could be empowered and have gender equity because of this film that, you know, with Steven's leadership and our producer Kathy Kennedy, we wanted an equal partner in the story to the male characters, which, as you know well, was rare in film.
Speaking of male characters and your chest, you had an unbuttoned look that I think we're all very familiar with.
It's
right, guys? Very memorable.
All too familiar and very male. Speaking of, you can't get more male.
May I see this? May I see the book? Do you mind?
Oh no! You mustn't torment me with
you know
this.
What we happen to have this.
Watch this.
What? Are you doing it?
Yeah. No, I'm not.
You're not? Okay. Let's open this up.
Oh yeah, may I? Have you seen this?
No.
I've seen a prototype of this. I didn't know you were going to have this. Watch. Okay. God creates dinosaurs, and then your line, woman inherits the earth.
Okay. And
but this is the book that ostensibly Ian Malcolm wrote.
Okay.
Watch this. Look what they made, and then. There's me.
There. Wait. Hold on.
I can't.
There you are. Wait. Look at you.
I've got lines from it. Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Push my head and I speak a line.
Do you remember these lines? This is the best thing ever, y'all.
I mean, everyone
Jeff
needs
Goldblum,
to.
Just one button.
There you go. Look at that. For you. That's for you. That's for you.
We are so excited for this movie. Are y'all excited?
I just love being here on today. I just do. Can't you tell?
Of course.
Yeah, I really do. And don't go anywhere, because after the break, we have a special interview with our director, Colin Trevorrow. So stay with us, please.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world. Because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Welcome back to our Jurassic World Dominion Today All Day special. Director Colin Trevorrow first helped relaunch the Jurassic Park franchise in 2015 with Jurassic World.
Yeah, and he spoke to Today about what it was like to direct our latest film and to bring about an epic final chapter.
I promise you, I am gonna get her back.
Jurassic World Dominion is a completely different kind of film than any of the other Jurassic movies have been. The dinosaurs are out in the world. They are creating havoc, and genetic power has reached a point where it's threatening the survival of life on this planet. I wanted to direct the third film because just being able to wrap up the story we've been telling the whole time, to be able to take these characters who I care about and make sure that they find a home together and feel safe. And I include the dinosaurs in that, the T-Rex. These are characters from our childhood who we love, and so making sure that all of these stories are wrapped up in a way that feels consistent, that when you watch all three movies together, it feels like one long story, which I really believe it does. That was really important to me, and the fact that we made it during a pandemic was really challenging. I was directing a movie in 2 different countries at the same time. It was hard, but we did it. I wanted it to be a warmer film than the previous 2. We were kind of a cold blue in Jurassic World, and then in this film I wanted it to feel like a big, robust, romantic adventure. It's shot on film, which is really important to me, and hopefully by the time you get to the end of it, you will feel like you've been through a lot, and the people just look tired and bruised, and that's the kind of adventure I like. From a production design standpoint, it's really important to me and Kevin Jenkins, our designer, that we are as practical as possible at any given turn. So we didn't make a movie in a computer. There are not digitally designed backgrounds. We built 112 sets. We made animatronic dinosaurs. We put people in real environments with real animals so they could look around and be confident that they were actually there. And then the biggest challenge is when you build something that's as spectacular as some of the things that we built, to make sure not to constantly just be in a giant wide shot showing off your amazing set to the audience, but really get in there and live in it as if it's a real place. It was very important to use animatronics because not only is that a legacy, it's what made us love Jurassic Park so much, is that we actually saw those animals were real. But in our film, because we have such great actors, to be able to provide them the opportunity to not be emoting across from a tennis ball, but actually be able to reach out and touch something in the way that Laura Dern does in her scene when she moves her finger back and forth. Puppeteers naturally reacted to what she was doing, so there was an actual exchange between living things, which I think is extremely special.
What is that?
Biggest carnivore the world has ever seen.
Run!
The reality of these movies, I think, really matters. It's one of the very few franchises where the main characters are just regular people. They're professionals, they're scientists, they're parents. And so I wanted to make sure the whole world felt as if it actually existed, because we are talking about some real world scientific issues in the film. Some of the dangers that we present are dangers that exist. And so the closer we can get it to our reality, I think the more believable it's gonna be. Some of the more insane things that we do in the film that you're gonna buy it. Working with this cast was just one of the most satisfying creative experiences that I've had, because I was able to work with legendary actors like Laura Dern and Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum, B.D. Wong, and then these good friends of mine who I've been making these movies with for 8 years, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, and then these new friends who I think make as much of an impact on this movie as any of the legends and icons who have come before, in Mamadou Ache and DeWanda Wise and Tishan Lockman. All of them together as one group, especially at the end when they're literally all together as one group, it was just such a wonderful experience. And it was during a really challenging time. We were all very afraid. We were making a film during COVID, and yet because of all of these people, because they have such brilliant skill sets and also just beautiful souls, we managed to get through it together. I wanted to pay homage to the spirit of Jurassic Park, but I didn't want to make a carbon copy of Jurassic Park. And that's something that I've really focused on in each of the movies. We feel like in order to honor what Steven created and what Michael Crichton created, we have to aggressively bring new ideas to the table, because that's what they did. And so these movies are different. They're a completely different kind of experience, and yet I know that Jurassic Park's never going away. They'll all be there for people to enjoy together. So to me, it was making sure that the characters that we were bringing back felt like they were presented in a way that was honest and authentic and real, and you actually believe these were human beings who've been alive for the same 30 years that some of us have been alive for, and a lot's happened in those 30 years. People love this franchise, but I think they just love dinosaurs. And however we present dinosaurs in each of these films, I hope that at all times it taps into, yes, a fear that we have of them, but also a humility that we have in the face of them, this recognition that they walked the earth. They share the same soil as us, and yet they look so different and lived so long ago and actually lived so much longer than we have. It's just a very grand idea and a really unique relationship between, you know, movie creature, movie monster, and audience. When people leave the theater, I really hope that there's a sense that we made these movies for a reason. And we weren't just making a bunch of situations where people could get chomped by dinosaurs, even though we do that, and I enjoy it. These are movies that did have something to say, and ultimately we landed in a place that hopefully you can walk out of there with your family feeling a sense that we are small and we are fragile, but also we can succeed and we can survive if we do it together.
Lots to learn there. We certainly love Colin. It was amazing to work with him.
Yeah, just amazing. Now up next, we're dipping into the Today Show vault for a Jurassic Park flashback. Stay tuned for that.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world. Because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCNews.com/planyourvote today.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
And we're back on our Jurassic World Dominion special here on Today All Day. To round this all off, we thought it'd be fun to travel back in time to when all of this began.
Yes, the year is 1993, and a film called Jurassic Park was just about to hit theaters. Here's Sam Neill, who reprises his role as Dr. Alan Grant in our new movie, and he's talking about the first iteration of the dinosaur story here on Today.
Your character is based on a real-life paleontologist. Tell me about who that is and how you learned the tricks of the trade, if you will.
Well, he's a guy called Jack Horner, and he digs up bones in Montana. And my character's very much based on him, and he was also advising us on the film. He was with us quite a lot of the time, and I'm pretty much playing him. It was easy. And he also gave me a lot of information about dinosaurs. He got me really prepped up. But then, in the end, because these dinosaurs were on the set and playing with us, I didn't need to know anything about dinosaurs because they were there. And
what was that like?
Life.
What was that like, being around all these incredibly lifelike creatures?
Well, I was kind of anxious about it, but they're very professional. For all of them, it was their first movie. But you know,
no egos.
No egos at all. There was never any problem getting out of the trailers. They never sat on my chair, and I think they have a big future in the movie business.
Wow! Wow! Terrific! Wow! Look at him. Can you believe that? Just terrific to revisit a memory like that. Working on that film was a real joy and a privilege for me. And it was a treat to reunite with Sam and Laura for this story 3 decades later. 3 decades? Is that possible? Can you believe that?
It is. It is. It's crazy, though, and we are so lucky to have you all. So that was our Jurassic World Dominion special here on Today All Day. We hope you enjoyed learning about how we put our movie together.
And don't forget, Jurassic World Dominion is out in theaters tomorrow, so be sure to check it out. And Thanks very much for watching. I'm Jeff Goldblum.
And I'm Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bye.
Bye. Bye today all day.
Okay, I have been bursting to talk to Viola Davis. She is, to me, just stunning. The kind of person you want to get to know on so many levels. Yes, she is arguably one of the most talented actors in the business, winner of an Academy Award, and now she's only a Grammy away from having the coveted EGOT, the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. But I couldn't wait to hear from Viola, the woman, the one who survived an unthinkable childhood, the one who witnessed abuse and endured hardships so painful few people would have survived. But Viola, she overcame, she persevered, and she grew. How? She talks about all of it in her new memoir, Finding Me. Just talking to Viola, I wept in admiration, in awe, and in celebration.
Hi, Hoda.
I can't. Wait, it's highlighted. It's dog-eared. I bound your book, the PDF, and made a little book out of it so I could carry it with me.
Oh.
Can I just tell you something? It is so meaningful and beautiful and touching, and I don't even know how to describe it, but it moved me to my very core. My very core. It's so incredible. I mean,
Thank you,
I
Hoda.
thought I knew you, and then I read this. And now I'm like, wow, I'm so moved. And I'm also kind of mad at myself because I've interviewed you so many times and I realized I must not have ever asked the right questions because this book is just so full of you. So let me ask you how it feels during this moment. Here you are. You've put your life on the page and you're handing it out like a piece of your heart and you're saying, this is me.
Yes.
How does that part feel in this moment?
Terrifying. It really does. It's a lot of fear, you know, because I'm putting my life out there for the world to judge, observe. You know, it's like that old saying, I know what I said, I just don't know what you heard. And I know what I wrote, I just don't know how it's going to be received. And I think that is really ultimately what happens when you make yourself vulnerable. It's like running naked in a crowded stadium. So it's terrifying.
Well, it is so full of heart and soul. Let me just start by saying, and I think I speak for a lot of people in America, I did not know what you have endured in your life as a young girl. I knew that you had struggles. I did not know you grew up hungry. What does that mean to grow up hungry?
The hunger was just one part of it. It's growing up hungry. It's growing up exposed to that level of abuse. It's growing up feeling like an outsider. The thing about being hungry is you don't think about anything else. You get to school at 8. By 8:15, you're falling asleep. You're listening to people who say, oh, my mom made me breakfast this morning. I didn't want that cereal. And you're thinking, you didn't eat your cereal? You had cereal with milk? You know, your brain chemistry changes. How you perceive the world changes. And I'll tell you the worst part of all of it is the deep, deep shame. Because how do you tell someone that you're hungry? How do you say that to a teacher who's worried about maybe your grades, how you're progressing in class? It's a basic human need that's not being fulfilled, and there's so much shame around it because you feel like, why isn't it being fulfilled?
There was a line in your book where you said, like, one of your friends came over to your house, opened the fridge, and asked if you were moving because there was nothing in there.
Yeah.
How did you find food? How did you find your basic needs so you could continue on your day?
You find it. You know, what I started to remember, because it's memory, right? When you go back and it hits you. It's different almost than nostalgia. But so the memory is people who gave you money on the street. I would go up to people and say, do you have a quarter? Do you have 50 cents? It's going to soup kitchens, Catholic churches, friendships where you know parents are going to make 3 meals a day. So you form those friendships. You go over to that house and you wait for the meal.
Wow. I mean, there was this other part of the book, I think it's a chapter you entitled Running.
Yeah.
And you were literally, as you call it, hunted down by young boys chasing you, calling you the N-word. You were like, in a sense, running for your life.
Yeah.
In those moments, I can't imagine that was happening day after day, that kind of horrific bullying.
It was day after day. That's what it felt like. Now, was I actually running for my life? Would they actually have killed me? I don't know about that. But that's what it felt like. It's just like anxiety. They say anxiety is just fear of death. What I realized from a very early age was I was born in a world that I just didn't fit into. And I did not have the language to understand the power of race, the power of being dark-skinned, the potency of being different. The power of that is just not how I was defined by those 8 or 9 boys. It's how the world defined me. It's that fear of being black, what black meant in this powerful caste system we have of how you treat people based on perceived value and worth. And I was worthless. That's what it told me. I was a child. Children cannot deal with the abstract, right? We don't have those building blocks. And so it felt like I was running for my life, and I didn't have any arms to run into. So I was just running.
And when you say no arms to run into, you describe, it's so poetic and sad. It like struck me over and over in my heart. But you even talked about how there weren't enough pages in the book to chronicle all of the fights that went on inside your home, what you were, what you bore witness to, what you felt helpless, I would imagine, as a kid watching this in front of you.
You do. It's the last of the acceptable violences is domestic violence. Nobody really cares. I'll tell you that. I think it's a complicated issue to deal with. And so what happens is you sort of sweep it under the rug. It becomes your sort of dirty secret.
Yeah.
But every time you faced it, it is absolutely traumatic. If I felt like I was running for my life from the 8 or 9 boys, I felt then I had to go into a home where I was running from my life. That's what it felt like when I would witness the violence between my mom and dad. And I keep remembering these moments of violence that even happened at night in the middle of the street, and not one window opened. No one came out to help. And I look back on that now because as a kid, we prayed that no one would see us. And then as an adult, I'm looking back and go, why didn't anybody see us or help us? Or did they see us? It becomes that complicated.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/planyourvote today.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
What was your survival technique, like to live day in and day out in a home that felt like that, and to go to school in a situation that felt like that? You had to have some place where you, little Viola, went to live. How did you transport yourself?
Well, little Viola had a whole technique of leaving my body. It was pretty awesome, by the way.
Tell me.
I'd always go into the bathroom, and I would stay there for the longest time. And I had a whole thing where I just would focus on one part of my body, usually my finger, and I'd shut everything down.
Huh.
And after a certain amount of time, I literally would leave my body, and I'd go up to the ceiling.
Huh.
I'd turn around, and I would look at myself. I dreamed.
Huh.
I tried to achieve, and I kept secrets.
You kept secrets.
I felt like the keeping of the secret, the people not knowing it, sort of helped me to survive. I didn't understand anything about secrets actually eroding you.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a part of my vocabulary, my understanding of human emotion. I just felt like if no one knew, then how they would see me is based on what I was achieving outside of my house.
Uh-huh.
I recreated myself.
Wow.
But when you recreate yourself and another reality from yourself, the danger of that is you also disconnect.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I disconnected. Same thing that I did when I sat on the toilet. And the disconnection, or like a lot of people who go through trauma, when they compartmentalize, which is also not good.
Yep.
That's what I did. I compartmentalize. I use drive and ambition to replace feeling and vulnerability.
Did you ever feel like your stuff was unhealable, like that was just going to be you?
Well, I wish I could store it away, but I had to unpack it.
Yeah.
Here's what I believe. I believe that what connects us is not just the joy, is not just the achievements, it's also the sadness.
Yeah.
It's also the pain.
Yeah.
I feel that if I cannot share my pain with someone else, the pain, the joy, the achievements, then it's not real connection. But in order for me to share that, for me to have the ability to share that, I have to unpack it.
One of the first quotes in your book is about faith. It says, I think human beings must have faith or must look for faith, otherwise our life is empty. I feel like that constantly saved you.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, which is the belief in things that you cannot see.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else. I think that I didn't have anything else. But I always compare, my life to that image of the first man on earth looking out at the ocean and the mountains and the sky, and maybe it's raining and there's thunder and lightning, and he has no language, because this is before language.
Yeah.
This is before psychology.
Yeah.
This is before people were named. This is before love or hate or anything. And how then do you figure out life? How then do you figure out meaning? How do you communicate anything in order to find it? That's how I felt. I have nothing.
I have chills. Chills right now on me.
So what you then rely on, see, this is the power of connection.
Yes.
What you rely on are people who see you. People who really maybe see the pain, see the potential, see the talent. People who just love you. And they carry you.
You know, there was a moment, obviously, that changed your life, and it was when you flipped on the TV and the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman came on, and Miss Cicely Tyson was starring in it. What did young Viola's eyes see in that moment?
Magic. I saw everything. I saw what I wanted to be. I saw my possibilities. I saw my value. I saw it all in her. And I was like, that's it. You know, it was a path, a blazing path for me. And listen, like I said, my sister Dolores is an incredible teacher right now. My sister Diane works for the Department of Agriculture in D.C. And my sister Anita went to business school, whatever. And for all of us, it changed us. Not even just in the acting field. It lit fire inside of us that wasn't in our lives before.
Because your sister Dolores, I think it was Dolores, who told you, we're not going to live like this. I mean, to think that all of these sisters were raised in these really horrific circumstances, yet somehow you grew, all of you. It wasn't like you weren't the one that got out. What was it that was in the family that made that possible for all of the sisters to get out?
Well, first of all, you have to define getting out. Because I know me, I do have some level of trauma and anxiety from the past.
Sure.
So getting out in terms of my profession required drive.
Yes.
Drive is different than growth and healing. Now, the getting out, emotionally, getting out is totally different. Which is why I wrote the book. You don't get out. That's what happens. You have to reconcile and own your story. I didn't. I cut it out like it was the fat on an awesome piece of filet mignon. You cut out the fat and you recreate the story that you want to create. The problem with that is that, once again, you make yourself tough. You shut out the dark. You also shut out the light. And so that's what I realized when I was 28, is that I didn't get out. Hoda. I didn't. But I didn't know how to sort of reconcile it.
How did you? Or did you?
Ownership. That's what I did.
Yeah.
You either own your story or your story owns you. I'm not ashamed of it because I know that every single part of it made me who I am. I'm owning my story so people can be less alone. And I'm also owning my story because I want to love me. Hoda? I mean, at some point, you know, come on. It's like, you know, I'm 56.
You know, I was listening to Alicia Keys' song, I Have a Voice. It's so powerful. It's with Brandi Carlile. And every time I hear it, I think to myself, I'm 57, and I think to myself often, like, what took me so long to have it? You know, like, you do all these things in life, and you nod your head. And I had that same epiphany. It's like, am I going to be going to my grave with good enough? That's all I deserve. When was it that you knew your worth? When did you know your worth?
I'm trying. The only reason why I'm silent is not because I don't have an answer. It's because I'm deciding if I want to say it or not. And I should just say it. It's a work in progress. Yeah. I started the journey in understanding the value of worth when I was 28 years old. Because as much as I said, I don't want to be my mom. I love my mom, but I want to be my mom. I realized I was my mom. Huh. She was my imprinter, you know. And I would say by the time I met my husband at 34, 35, I knew that I was worth more than what I was accepting in my life before that time. I always define my life as, or life in general, as a relay race. So your purpose in life is just like a relay race. Great runners. Yeah. And each runner runs their leg of the race, and they pass a baton on to the next great runner, and they run their leg of the race, and that's how life goes. Yeah. But man, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing life is about connection, but it's about you. Everything comes from you. So each of those great runners is just you at a different age. It's young Viola surviving that path, but getting that baton to 28-year-old Viola who says, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it, Viola. I'm going to go to Juilliard. I'm going to do this or whatever. I'm going to work in the theater. I'm going to do the best I can or whatever. And then hits a wall and goes, oh my God, I'm going to give it to the 38, 39-year-old Viola who's getting married and understands that now I got to now take another entity into consideration. And now I'm at 56-year-old Viola. And one of the reasons why I wrote the book, once again, is because I felt at 54, I was dropping the baton. Because I was looking back too much. But life, that's how I see it. It's a whole relay race of you.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/planyourvote today.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, with your upbringing, and you have Genesis, your beautiful daughter, were you, as after you got married, yes, I definitely want kids. No, I definitely don't want kids. I'm not sure what I want to do about kids, given what you had seen.
definitely felt like I didn't want to get married or have children.
Yeah.
I didn't see being alone as not sexy. I thought it was sort of sexy.
Yeah.
I would see like Linda Evans at awards shows, and I thought that was pretty cool that she went by herself. I thought, that's a strong woman. I still feel that way, by the way. I hit it. Okay, I let's just say that. I hit it. You would say that I've achieved a certain level of success. And then I crashed and burned because I was like, this is it? Why is this it? Because I stopped at success and not at significance. And I remember running into Lorraine Toussaint, and I remember asking her, Lorraine, why did you adopt your daughter? And she paused for the longest time, and she said, I didn't want series regular to be on my tombstone.
Wow. Wow.
And it hit me that my entire life has been defined by achievements taking the place of meaning.
Oh, man.
I'm so conscious, even with Genesis, that I always want to say, you know, you're not an extension of mommy's dreams. She's her own person. But at the same time, I do sort of believe that she's my legacy. She's my hope.
Wow.
She's my meaning.
I just rewatched your Oscar acceptance speech, and at the end you talked about your parents, and you talked about how grateful to God you were that those were the people who were chosen to give birth to you. And after reading your book, I found that so profound, knowing what you had been through. Why did you say that?
Here's what I know about my life. What I learned from a very young age is radical love, radical forgiveness, radical transformation. What I was giving with my parents is an opportunity to grow. They gave me that ingredient that could either have killed me or had me grow in a way that some people never experience in their entire lives.
Wow.
And that's why when I finally ended the book, I ended the book with, God kept me exactly where I was at.
Yes.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
it. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
One of my favorite paragraphs in the whole book, and there are so many good ones, is this one. The question still echoes, how did I claw my way out? There is no out. Every painful memory, every mentor, every friend and foe served as a chisel, a leap pad that has shaped me. The imperfect but blessed sculpture that is Viola is still growing and still being chiseled. My elixir, I'm no longer ashamed of me. I own everything that has ever happened to me. The parts that were the source of shame are actually my warrior fuel.
Come on! Come on, that's awesome. That is so awesome. I underlined it. I'm highlighting it when I get the real book. I'm going to keep it by my bed. It is so incredibly beautiful. And again, just lastly, as we wrap up, the title is Finding Me. Have you found her?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have. You know, I said it, you know, little Viola is celebrating. She's sitting right next to me, and she's happy that she's finally being embraced. Yeah.
Well, Viola, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. I've been waiting for this book, and people are going to devour this. I think you're going to change. I mean, you've already changed a million people's lives, but I have a feeling you're going to do a lot more with this. Thank you,
so
Viola.
Much.
I adore you.
Hoda.
Thank you so much.
I'm
keeping
too,
this.
I love
okay.
You.
I love you. See ya.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Smells so good.
Oh, it smells like pastry.
What are you doing?
Can we not put your face in the dough? I'm glad it's just us eating it.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dylan Dishes, Cooking with Cal. I can't wait to take a look back at some of my favorite Cooking with Cal segments and offer just a few of those tips and tricks that didn't quite make it into the original episode. In today's episode, we are all about apples. Everyone in my family loves apples, and I use them in so many different recipes in so many different ways. Just ask Ollie. I love taking the boys apple picking. I don't know why. It ends up being one of the most stressful days. You know, somebody has to go to the bathroom, somebody's hungry. There's no parking because the apple orchards are so crowded outside of New York City, but I am determined to always take the boys apple picking. I just think it's fun. Once you kind of go along that row and there's nobody else around for a little while and you pick the best apples, you kind of sneak a bite here and there. And the best part is I make so many different things with apples that I love bringing a big bushel of apples home and just seeing what we can do with them. For anyone else who went apple picking recently, here are 2 easy ways to use up all those apples. First up, my crunchy apple salad. Cal has a list of the ingredients you'll need for this recipe.
So let's go through the ingredients, okay? What's in our apple salad?
Apple. And zucchini.
Try again, not zucchini.
Salad?
So close.
Celery.
Celery. And what are these? I think you know.
Cranberry.
You've been snacking on those since we started. Do you know what this is?
A nut.
It's a walnut.
Walnut.
And then you know this one.
Yogurt.
Lots of vanilla yogurt. So this apple salad is a perfect after-school snack. It's a good breakfast. It's just a good all-around nice healthy alternative. How's the yogurt doing? Do you want a spoon? Gross. You want to help me with the apple? Let me cut it up into a smaller piece for you. You are actually eating all of my ingredients.
No, not that, Mommy.
Chop it up nice and small. You're doing a lot more eating than cooking. What's your favorite fruit?
Apple. I'm throwing it because it's really hard.
While you do that, I'm going to chop up the celery.
Okay.
I like to make the celery really small.
Why?
So that it's not too hard to chew. So Kel, when I was little,
Yeah?
I used to eat this all the time, every single morning for breakfast.
Was that a long time ago?
It was a long time ago. Even when I first moved to New York, I used to eat it all the time, every morning for breakfast.
Really? That's weird. Mix it up.
Yeah, mix it all together. All right, what should we put in next? How about some of these?
Yeah, of course.
Sprinkle those all in there?
I can pour it.
Okay. Perfect. And now let's chop these up a little smaller. Like rock your knife back and forth. Look at how small I made these.
Whoa.
So now we got all our ingredients in here, right? And here's the fun part. There you go.
And this is the medium one or the biggest one?
What, bowl or spoon?
Spoon.
That's the small one.
I have to lick it off.
Did you have to lick it off?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because there's yogurt on it.
So you can add as much yogurt as you want. It's not really a measurement here. It's more just once everything is all nice and combined. Sometimes I'll add blueberries in here.
Oh, I have to look it up.
Oh.
I just eat it up.
So that's it. Super simple, right? I usually make a big bowl of this and then just scoop it out in the morning, or you can divvy it up into little Tupperware containers, and it's good to go as a grab-and-go snack.
Are we done?
That's it. That's all we have to do.
Are you gonna taste one?
I'm gonna taste one too.
A taste test?
It's a taste test.
Which one should I use? Is it healthy?
It's very healthy.
Up next, we are taking apples from sweet to sweeter with one of my favorite fall treats, apple dumplings with a homemade caramel sauce. You don't want to miss this.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel phone?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/planyourvote today.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now. At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel phone?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel phone?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Dylan Dishes Cooking with Cal. Today's episode is all about using a favorite fall staple, apples. Next up, Cal and I are making apple dumplings with a homemade caramel sauce. This recipe takes a bit more time, a bit more patience, but I promise it's worth it. I first saw this recipe in Better Homes and Gardens' new cookbook, so here's how to make one of my favorite fall treats.
There are a lot of steps, but it's still pretty easy, okay? There's only 3 things. We need the caramel sauce that goes on top. We've got the apples that we're going to fill with this little filling, and we're gonna wrap it in pastry dough. So let's get started.
Yeah. This is a hard apple. That's a nice apple.
Let's add the water. You can't eat everything. Pour in the sugar.
Mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna do half this cinnamon, not all of it. So I'm gonna bring this up to a boil, and this is gonna be our caramel sauce.
We still have some things to do.
You ready to make the filling? All right, what do you think those are? Walnuts.
Walnuts.
And what are those?
Raisins.
Raisins. And we're gonna add
honey.
Add a tablespoon of honey. This is gonna be our filling for the apples. Dump the salt into the flour.
All of this salt?
Yeah. Do you know what this is? What do you think it is?
I don't know.
This is called shortening. We want to make the shortening look like little bits of peas in here.
What happens if we eat it?
It would taste disgusting. Ready? Like press it down and twist. There you go. Press and twist. Press it hard. All right, now we're gonna add the half and half.
Now can I pour it? What are we making?
Apple dumplings, remember?
Oh, yummy.
Yeah.
It's a dessert.
It is a dessert.
When it's done, can I eat one of it?
Of course.
And you?
Yes.
Smell it so good.
Oh, it smells like pastry. What are you doing? Can we not put your face in the dough? I'm glad it's just us eating it. All right, here we go with our dough.
Oh no, we make the hole.
No, don't make a hole.
Why?
Because no more holes, no holes. I need you to start here and end all the way over here. Nice. Put the apple here. I'm gonna fill it. Can you take a little bit of this?
This is our standard hiding spot.
A little cinnamon sugar. I'm gonna pour this sauce over the dumplings. Carefully. Do you love it? Okay, so if you want to make this apple dumpling recipe right away, you might be thinking I don't have an apple core like I used, but there is a way you can just cut right through the apple. It's tedious, I'll tell you that. In fact, I held off making this recipe until I ordered one of these. Wherever you get, kitchen supplies, it's an easy order. Just wait a couple days until it gets there. But if you don't have patience, just be careful. And I wouldn't recommend doing this part with the kids because you need a very sharp knife and you literally just have to cut around the core of the apple. So make sure you go all the way to the bottom. This is probably the worst part of the whole recipe, is coring the apple. Sure we get through the other side. My kids eat a lot of apples, and whether I'm slicing them or dicing them or doing whatever it is with apples, there's just no good way to get the seeds out. but this works pretty well. Okay, so you can either do it that way if you don't have patience, although I think this way is the way to go. So this is what an apple core does. Basically the same thing the knife did, just in all one big swoop. And get it in there. Twist it, pull it up. And there you go. That was easier, right? So I'd recommend just holding off a couple days on this recipe and wait till you get your apple core. Because that's perfect. So to core the apple with a knife, you want to make sure you use a paring knife. They're nice and sharp, they're tiny. If you use anything bigger, I feel like you're gonna cut the whole apple up. And a steak knife would just never work for this. So get yourself a paring knife too.
For all these recipes, go to today.com/DylanDishes.
I'll do the chocolate chips. No, I want to. No. Fine. Yay. Let's pour it at the same time, Alexander. 3, 2, 1. Whee! My name's Alexander Charbonnet, and this is Kids in the Kitchen. My name is Alexander Charbonnet. I'm 7 years old, and I'm in 2nd grade. I started cooking when I was 5 for my mom and my dad and my sister. I started my cooking channel 2 years ago when I was 5. Hi guys, hi friends, welcome to my show. Kids Can Cook with Chef Alexander. We are making banana muffins with no egg, because I'm allergic to egg. My egg allergy makes me sad, but I'm more sad because I can't eat stuff like other people. Because of my allergy, I can't eat cookies or donuts or like cakes or like a lot of stuff. My mom is awesome because she makes eggless stuff like cookies, cupcakes, and regular cakes. But my mom and I bring treats like cookies without egg to school with me so I can enjoy it with my friends. My little sister has a peanut allergy. She can have like peanut butter and jelly, so I feel like she's special too. My mom was the one who taught me how to cook. My favorite part of cooking is I get to spend special time with my mom cooking. My favorite hobbies are playing video games, riding my bike, riding my scooter. I also really love dinosaurs. Here's a fact of some dinosaurs. Did you know that the Allosaurus doesn't have serrated teeth, and it actually uses a jaw? He opens his mouth and he slashes his upper jaw into its prey like a hammer. We are making chocolate donut cakes. So we have this flour, so we're gonna dump it into the sieve. I wanna be a pastry chef because I'm already a pastry chef. I am so excited because today we're making eggless Trini, macaroni pie, and blender muffins with apples, bananas, and carrots. First, we're gonna start with the macaroni pie. Here's everything we need to start with. We got butter, we got olive oil, cut up onions, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, flour, mustard, cheese, salt, but we also need elbow and and milk. First, we're gonna make the cheese sauce. First, we're gonna melt the butter and the olive oil over medium heat. Now the next step where you need to add the onions. Make sure you cook it for a few minutes because we don't want the smell of the onions to make us cry. The next step, you need to add the flour and you need to make a roux. A roux is fat mixed with flour. You need to whisk it so it doesn't give that raw flour taste. That would taste horrible. This is what's gonna thicken the sauce since I'm not using egg. Now we need to add the milk to the pot, but make sure to add it slowly because we don't want it to spot all over the place. Now we need to whisk it until it's fully incorporated. Next, we're gonna add the mustard. Now we're ready to put in the spices. We got our onion powder, the garlic powder in, and the black pepper in. And the salt, let's put in the salt too. Bubbling, it looks like lava. This is what we're looking for. I wish you guys can smell this, because it really smells good. Now for the best part, we put in the cheese. Now we're going back to mixing. The sauce looks like this. This is a little hot, so you know who I need? Mommy! Almost there, up. It's important to incorporate the pasta into the cheese sauce. We're gonna put in a greased baking dish and then we're gonna top it off with cheese. This looks great. Now we're just gonna add some cheese on the top. I need to pop this in the oven, so I need to call Mom again. Mom!
Oh, it looks good. Okay, I'm gonna open the oven.
Okay. Thanks, Mom.
Oh, no, thank you. Good job.
We're gonna let it bake for 25 or 30 minutes. This looks awesome. It wouldn't be complete without my favorite person. Yeah.
We come from a long line of foodies in our family, a long line of cooks, and you're just carrying on that tradition by continuing to be one of the chefs in our family.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Now we're gonna make one of my favorite recipes, blender muffins without egg. They have apples, carrots, and bananas, but to help me, I'm gonna have my sister, Natalie. Come on.
garden soon. And my favorite food is fruits and vegetables. 5, I'm 5. And I'm Alexander's sister. And my nickname is Peanut.
And her nickname's Peanut, but she has a peanut allergy. But this also has no eggs, so it's
Isn't that funny, guys?
Now we have this big mixing bowl. So now we're gonna put in all our dry ingredients.
Let's start with the flour.
Put in the brown sugar. Oh, flop. Oh, there's still some. Ah, there you go.
Put it back.
Now we need to put in the white sugar.
Now we
put in baking
soda,
powder, and
my
now
turn.
let's put in baking soda.
Now let's put in some cinnamon, like for cinnamon rolls. Let's make Fender muffins. Mix up. Agitate around.
Okay.
Your turn.
Now we need the blender, and now we're gonna ask Mom for the blender.
Mom.
Now we're gonna add the apples, the carrots, and bananas to the blender. Let's start with the apples.
Yeah.
Plop.
Plop. Time for carrot time.
We're gonna put in the carrots.
And guys, in case you know, these are for our bunnies, but we use them for baking now. Let's put the banana peel right.
Break it in half and then put the other half in. That might be smart.
In a float. It looks weird.
Wonder.
I'm trying to get the ones on the back. Maybe we should do it together. Let's mix and agitate, agitate, agitate. Let's mix and agitate. Let's do that.
Now let's add.
I'll add the butter.
Vanilla and let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Wow. Wow.
I'll do the chocolate chips.
No, I want to.
No. Fine. Let's pour it at the same time, Alexander. 3, 2, 1. Whee!
I'll do the oats. Ooh, this looks good. Now we have our muffin tin.
Yep.
We get to spray our muffin tin. Yeah, we need to do it 3/4 way full.
How about you scoop it and I put it in?
These are ready to go in the oven now.
And now let's get Mom. Now it's going to take 18 to 22 minutes. Bye. We'll see you on the next step. Oh my gosh! They're done! Now we have to call Mom. Mommy! Some of them are small and some of them are ginormous. Oh my gosh, I just want to gobble them all up in my mouth.
These have been cooling for 10 minutes, so they're ready to eat.
Again, you did awesome, John. High five. teamwork makes the yummy dream.
Welcome to The Making of Today. It's a show about how we bring the Today Show to you every single morning.
For the next half hour, we are going to share the behind-the-scenes secrets from some of the biggest moments over the last few months. Are you ready to kick it off?
All right, let's do it. First, we're going to peel back the curtain on a royal encounter. We got to look at the making of today from The Hague in the Netherlands, where Prince Harry hosted the 2022 Invictus Games back in April.
Hoda sat down with the Duke of Sussex to hear about the event, his famous family, and life these days. Here's a glimpse at the action.
The crew and I landed at The Hague about 24 hours before my interview with Prince Harry. We took an overnight flight to get here.
So everybody's blurry because I watched Barb and Star on the plane for 1 hour and then ate and stayed up. So I'm delirious. So what we're going to have to figure out is how to wrap this day up, try to get some rest because the interview's tomorrow morning in Netherlands time. So we are going to wrap that interview fast.
Like with so much of our work, we are up against the clock.
We're going to get the piece cut overnight so that when we land in the United States at 7:30 p.m. Tuesday, by Wednesday morning it'll be ready. And just to show you how magical we are, we're actually going to get a chunk of it on nightly news Tuesday night. So it's going to be a full-on, all-out sprint, and it's worth every second.
Here on the ground, in advance of my interview, I want to not just read in, but I also want to attend the Invictus Games.
You just got a gold medal.
Oh my God! You did?
Yes.
Congratulations! That's awesome! So that when I sit down with Prince Harry, I can speak from my experience. It's now the day of the interview, and things got really exciting really quickly.
We're about a half hour before we start rolling with Prince Harry. Hoda's already actually met him. As we got out of the car, randomly he was walking in a very Hoda-esque moment. They saw each other, they greeted each other. We got about a half hour to go, so we're pretty excited.
Give me the crucial part is here because you're on F28. You got to make sure that you're focused, okay?
Right now, there's a couple things happening. Hoda's sort of focusing in on sort of the conversation and what she's going to do and how she thinks that the interview's going to play out. And then there's also the crews, which are working on background, lighting. We're checking everything, making sure that we're in touch with New York. There's a lot going on right now. A lot going on.
And in royal fashion, Prince Harry arrived on time and ready.
My job is here with these guys and give them the support I can and try to work out what and how I'm going to do my closing speech.
Yeah, what are you going to say?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I knew, I wouldn't tell you.
My conversation was as interesting as I'd hoped for, and I have to say Prince Harry was kind, honest, and reflective.
My sort of mantra now every day is, and it's a dangerous one because I need to make sure that I don't have burnout, but is trying to make the world a better place for my kids. Otherwise, what's the point in bringing kids into this world?
And the determination of these athletes and the support of their families will leave a mark on me forever.
You know, you land and you have a quick turn, and they always tell you quick turn. You got to go in there and shoot and get out. Well, I'm here, okay? I have met people who I won't forget, who've inspired me.
Now, from one famous Harry to another, music superstar Harry Styles joined us on the plaza for a huge concert with tons of fans. And our crew didn't let the rain get in the way of this big day. Here's how our team made it happen.
Another rainy day in New York.
I know, with Harry.
Yes, that Harry. Harry Styles kicked off our summer concert series and brought the music. The fans. We love you, Harry! And an early morning for our Today Show family.
It is about 1:45 a.m.
It's 3:20.
We got here at 3 a.m. Pouring rain.
Producers Katie Ryan and Kevin Chattel have been planning this concert for weeks.
When we found out it was Harry Styles, we both raised our hands immediately and we were like, please let us take this on.
Katie's been around longer than I have, so she knows the ropes and I can lean on her.
But the one drizzle on the plan, waking up to rain.
The most challenging part of this concert, seeing the crew working harder than I've ever seen before.
Sweeping water off the stage just constantly. Everyone's running around looking for towels, trying to clean up everything.
It is a lot to manage.
Our production designer, Ed Helbig, created the stage.
We adjusted on the fly about a day and a half ago to bring in a stage with a roof. But we've been working on it for a few weeks, and we definitely worked with the artist to make sure that the stage configuration worked for how he was going to perform.
Ed and his team arrived 24 hours before the concert.
It's really miraculous to see it all come together in such a short amount of time.
Harry's fans lined up hours before the big show.
I have to hold this the entire time?
No, you are not going to hold that the entire time. That's not happening.
Our team facilitated over 6,000 fans, one of our largest concerts ever.
We worked with our security and the NYPD to make sure that everything was ready for load-in for our audience members.
It's 5:40 a.m. We're loading the guests in. Everyone's so excited.
You can see these barricades too. These are like the industrial barricades to keep everyone safe.
With the fans loaded in, now it's time for Harry's rehearsal.
I don't know if you Today All Day peeps out there are aware, but we had the artists come out around 6 a.m. to make sure to check their audio levels, make sure everything looks good, sounds good.
And from that moment on, we don't stop.
People may not realize or see is how we're always kind of setting up 3 steps ahead. So while something's happening, while Harry might be performing one song, we're setting up what's going to happen after the next commercial break and making sure the anchors that are part of the next segment are where they're supposed to be.
During a concert, he can find most of us on the plaza, dancing and singing along. And in my case, twinning with Harry. Our team delivering the best show, making memories along the way.
How do you feel?
Relieved.
Until we do it again all summer long.
And big props to our crew who had to set up and break down with all that rain.
Yes.
We love Summer on the Plaza. And up next, Today on the Road, how our third hour kicked off the best summer ever in South Carolina. And Hoda and Jenna's big trip to the Big Easy. We'll be right back.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCNews.com/planyourvote today.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel calm?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to the Making of Today. In May, we took the third hour of Today on the road. Thanks to our friends at Verbo. We headed to God's country, as Craig likes to call it, South Carolina.
Yeah, we set sail for sunny Hilton Head Island to enjoy beautiful views, incredible food, and to make a few memories along the way. And here's how it all came together.
What better way to kick off summer than to take the third hour to Hilton Head Island, home of beautiful beaches, low country cuisine, and lots of fun in the sun.
Guess what, everybody? It's happening. A whole crew of the third hour today. We're headed to South Carolina, and now, as much as we talked about it, now feels real.
While in flight, our Today Show crew was in South Carolina, setting up in our beautiful location. The minute we landed, we were greeted with a warm welcome, and it's off to our first location for a special shoot, a Buddy Up. It's time to get fishing. Our producer, Alicia, prepped us for what would be a fishy adventure.
We're about to go out on the Calabogie Sound for a little shoot with the 9 a.m. town.
Okay, so I'm on the chaser boat, which means we're going next to the main boat. And I'm listening to the feed on this phone. I've got Fuzzy here driving.
And while we were shooting on the water, our producers were back at our gorgeous Verbo Beach House, getting ready with the crew for another late night shoot.
We are planning to finish wrapping up our very special very special edition of the third hour today. Carlos Gal on drone. They're announcing this is the best summer ever.
After the show preps, we end the night with a beautiful sunset and team dinner. And finally, the big day is here, and the crew was working hard on making sure the lights, camera, and audio are ready to roll.
So basically, we're just going through the rundown here. First part of the show, we just kind of go through everything to see what's going on, so we know who's being mic'd and what we're doing, and that's basically where we start.
So I'm printing the show rundown, so they're about to have a camera meeting with the stage manager, go over all the set locations, and this is all the info that they need to know.
Then it's showtime.
This is a special edition of the third hour of today, live from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
Yeah! And we couldn't forget to wish our good buddy Craig a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you! That's a wrap on our time in God's country. None of it would have been possible without our amazing Today Show team. We had a blast.
Oh, it was great.
It was so fun. And speaking of, Hoda and Jenna always bring the fun, whether they're in the Big Apple or the Big Easy. Back in March, the dynamic duo headed to New Orleans for 2 special shows.
They experienced local culture, food, and met up with some famous friends. Today, contributor Donna Farazan has an inside look how they got it all done.
New Orleans is known for its delicious food, jazz music, and unforgettable culture. So whenever we head on down to the Big Easy, we know it's going to be a party. We are going to film 2 shows. We can't wait for the crowd, can't wait for the people, can't wait for the better weather, can't wait for the food.
We just touched down in New Orleans, and what is the most important part? Food and cocktails. So we're at our team dinner. Here's to a fabulous remote shoot. Let's go!
So let the good times roll.
Guess what I found? People who are excited for tomorrow. I am so excited!
Hoda and Jenna.
Go girls! We can't wait.
I'm going to meet Hoda and Jenna at a crawfish boil, which Hoda's the queen of New Orleans, so we know that this is not her first crawfish boil. But I can't wait to see how their day went. Come with me.
It was all New Orleans. Like we were just inundated with everything New Orleans. Art, music, culture, food, poetry, drink, food, nice people, drinks. Wait, look at my shirt.
Huda!
NOLA is my happy place.
The person behind a lot of it, Amanda. How did it go?
We had a really fun day. We went around the city.
You took us everywhere. Can we eat now?
Yes.
A successful crawfish boil.
We had one of the busiest yet best 2 days working on this piece ever.
You can't not have fun in New Orleans. Even when you're stressed, you're having fun.
Now we're diving in.
Oh, yeah.
From food time to show time. And it's the behind-the-scenes crew that helps make the magic happen.
We'll go on the truck and we'll just give you a quick tour.
You're on camera. I'm Donna. It's like a cockpit. You're on camera. Big crowd here in Jackson Square. And we're live.
And with the band in full swing, the ladies went marching in.
How do you think it's going?
Amazing. The crowd is so great. Very honored to show up.
That's why the crowd's going crazy. Come here!
And Hoda got to share her favorite city with her favorite girls. New Orleans never disappoints, and neither does our amazing team.
We love a good trip.
Absolutely.
All right, and stick around because we'll be headed to our DC studio where our Saturday crew takes the helm. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys.
Did you feel calm?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/planyourvote today.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. And who's this? Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys.
Did you feel calm?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
During the week, we're here in Studio 1A, but on Saturdays, we pass the baton to our team in D.C. with our chief White House correspondents and Weekend Today co-anchors, Peter Alexander and Kristen Welker. Here's a look inside the Saturday Today operations, waking up your weekends from our nation's capital.
All right, so it's 4:20 in the morning.
It's about 4:30 in the morning.
This is the part of the day that hurts.
I just made my coffee so that I'll have some energy.
Never in 18 years being at the Today Show have I had a cup of coffee. True story.
So I just arrived at work before 5 a.m. and I have 3 minutes to make it upstairs before our editorial call.
By 5 a.m., it's time for our first call to go over the show.
Hey, Katie and Peter.
Good morning, guys.
So, Katie, what do we have today?
So we're going to open up with Samara doing a weather hit, breakout weather hit on the heat.
Kristen to Meg, and Peter to Jesse Kirsch, and you say goodbye, and that's it.
While Kristen and I get ready, the control room here is buzzing.
Where is everybody?
Actually, while we're here in D.C., our control room team is in New York in 1A with their own morning routine.
Morning coffee.
By 6 a.m., we're finalizing scripts.
Formula Fears.
Formula Fears, good.
And last looks.
Was this on purpose? Or matching?
It was a little bit on purpose. I think the blue is working.
3, 2, 21.
Go time is showtime, baby.
Joining on Saturdays, Samara Theodore and our friend Joe Fryer.
Let's talk pocket square, more importantly.
Pocket square?
Yes. Strong.
Do you want some real behind-the-scenes stuff here?
I did.
This is my secret thing. So if you have a little thing like this.
Saturday Night Live, only 2 episodes of the sketch show remain this season.
The studio is constantly changing.
6. What's my motivation? 4. 3. Eurovision. 2.
Well, the wildly popular Eurovision Song Contest will crown.
That purple disco club is just one look we can do. Let's show you around our DC studio.
This is the centerpiece, our studio, N5, which we love.
Take a look around. We'll spin James behind the camera. Spin us around. Take a look. We'll join you on the other side. We have a bunch of different angles that we can use. And if you come this direction, look at our view. It's spectacular. We are literally just about a block and a half from the U.S. Capitol. This is our giant wall.
One of the coolest places.
Yeah, no doubt. And so when it's cold out, this thing cooks at like 150 degrees. So this room gets pretty warm.
Whenever we're doing a story, the backdrop a lot of times matches the theme of the story that we're doing. So
Speaking of matching, they take this shot of us, Welker. It looks like we're off to prom. It's prom season.
I know.
We look like we're days
We're matching.
One final thing we like to do each Saturday morning, the after party, our post-show recap on Instagram.
Okay, now don't start rolling until I'm ready. Now my hair looks good.
Yeah, okay, rolling.
Oh my gosh. Every time.
Does it ever get old? Oh my God, there's gonna be an ice cream truck? That's like a real thing.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Have a good one. See you, bye.
How fun to see that DC
I love that
studio
place.
and snag an invite to the after party. Well, now we're inviting you to somewhere here in Studio 1A, our dressing rooms.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so Dylan starts off with a tour of her space.
Come on in. I'm gonna walk backwards. It is very messy, but there's not much room. Got all my outfits here, my summer clothes. I often sometimes do my own makeup, so I've got that here. Just food and coffee and whatnot. But my favorite part of this whole room is my wall of art from Calvin and Oliver. They are constantly drawing every single day, and I never know what to do with this stuff, but I have just hideous wallpaper, so I've been slowly covering it up with all of their artwork. The masterpieces, I think. So that's my dressing room.
Come on in.
Wait, this must be your shoes.
So these are my shoes, and then the shoes turn into the hoodies that I wear into work and I don't feel like wearing home. And now it's too hot to wear this, so they stay. Hair for when I want to do a ponytail. Random things, hairpins. Clothes, I just keep like a little extra stash.
Where do you fit?
Hair products under here.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then I did my own makeup this morning. So makeup here.
What's your favorite part of your dressing room?
My favorite part of my dressing room is when I sit in this chair right here and I see all the people I love, like my work family and my real family. And then the fact that we were in the Highlights magazine of all the accolades means so much to me because it was so special to me as a kid. So this is like my little happy place.
Well, hello.
What have you got going on in? Wow, what have you got going on in here?
Well, let's see. Got my under desk treadmill. We got a standing desk. That's kind of good.
Do you ever sit?
No. It's just, I'm never in here that long. And when I'm in here, I like to get a few steps in. I only get it up to about 2.5 miles per hour, so you're not out of breath.
And you have all your memories over here?
All my stuff, pictures from family, friends, memorabilia.
Wow.
It's all happening. It's all here.
So what is your favorite part of your dressing room?
I don't know. Just it feels cozy. It's cozy, It's nice stuff that means something to me. It reminds me of all the parts of my life that I love, both professionally and personally.
We each clearly have our own personal touches in our dressing rooms. Al's, yours is clearly the nicest.
Well, it smells the nicest.
It is nice, but our next stop needs more than a little tidying up. We're heading across the pond to show you how our crew put together a fascinating feature story.
Just outside of Manchester, England, Molly Hunter met American producer and actor Hopwood Dupree. Now, he's traded Hollywood for his ancestral home, and he's just written a book about it called Downton Shabby. Check it out.
So we just got into Manchester train station. I got up at 5:30 in the morning, got on a 6:30 train, 2 hours up to Manchester, and now we're gonna hop in a taxi, and it'll be about another 40 minutes to our destination, which is Hopwood Hall.
And that's where Joel Lawrence, our photographer, has already arrived. He's filming with a drone, getting aerial shots.
It's a tricky flight because we only have a very small area we can fly within. Tricky to get all the different angles.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Molly.
Hi, Hopwood. Nice to meet you.
What a place.
Welcome to Hopwood Hall.
I see some broken windows.
Yes. Don't look at the broken ones. Just look at the fixed ones. We have hundreds and hundreds of broken windows.
Hopwood takes us on a tour of Hopwood Hall, the place he has dubbed Downton Shabby.
So this is the morning room. Hopwood was just telling us this is where the family would have come for breakfast, for coffee, for papers. Woo, careful. You can see all the original floorboards have been torn up. A little bit dangerous to walk around. That's why we're wearing the hard hats so nothing falls on. Let's keep going.
Now I'm going to take you into the oldest room in the house, 1420.
Oh, look at that woodwork.
Just look at how much time and energy would have gone into this.
Each individual
piece, and the little flowers and all the little leaves and everything. This was to make this room special.
To what was once one of the more spectacular rooms in the house.
So this is the long gallery corridor. This is what would have welcomed guests. It was meant to be impressive and have high ceilings and very ornate ceilings.
And with Joel leading the way, we even discover portions of the house Hopwood hasn't set foot in.
I don't even know what's in here. I've never even been in this. I don't even know what this is.
You've never been in here?
I've never even seen this before.
The next hurdle, a doorknob.
Yeah, this is how we get around here. Okay. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, okay. Well, at least this one opens.
And on our way to another surprise.
We pulled this wood out and realized that there was a groove in here. And then we realized there's a little keyhole. We realized this is a secret passageway.
To where?
It's locked though. I think this is where the gold is hidden.
Is there gold in there?
We never found gold, but despite that, back in the garden, Hopwood explains why he's committed to saving this house.
I thought, if somebody calls me in 5 or 10 years and says, Hopwood Hall was lost, it's gone, how would I feel? And I thought, I would feel terrible. So that's what inspired me to get involved.
9 years later.
9 years later, here I am.
Here you
still
are.
Trying to clean up dry rot.
Hopwood told Molly he hopes in about 3 to 5 years this could be a cultural center or host big events. I think 3 to 5 years might be a little generous.
Be a lot of work.
Thanks so much for that, Molly. Well, up next, we're going to answer some questions from you, our viewers. We'll be right back.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel calm?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
it. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back. We do this show for our viewers, so we want to take some time to answer some of the questions from our Plaza fans.
I want to know, what's the #1 thing left on your bucket list?
What's yours?
My goodness, there are some people I would still like to interview. I would love to have dinner. Can I just have dinner with Oprah and Beyonce?
Okay.
And interview them while we do it?
Yeah, well, that's a small order.
What about you?
To have an entire family reunion. We've never had a Roker family reunion. So
Oh, really?
I'd like to do that.
I know you work a lot of long and early hours, so what's your favorite thing to do to unwind?
Do nothing. I'll take the Calm app, close my eyes, and just relax.
You know, we've got a pontoon boat on a lake, and I love to just kind of get out there drop the anchor, crack open a box of rosé, and call it a day.
Sounds like a plan.
You're gearing up for the City Concert Series this summer, and I'm curious what's your favorite concert you've ever been to?
For me, I don't know if it's a surprise, but Beyonce, I've gone a few times. I love it. I just think she's such a great entertainer. Like, you leave inspired and ready to conquer the world.
I remember at 13, I went to go see Little Stevie Wonder at the Apollo, and he was performing with Sam and Dave.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot of great concerts since then. That, and it was tied with my other concert that I saw the same year, Soupy Sales.
Soupy Sales and
Hey,
Stevie
do the
Wonder.
mouth, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a broad.
There's a lot going on
Yeah,
there.
a lot happening. Well, I hope you had a good time, and we want to thank you for joining us, and hope you'll come back. But until next time, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Jumping straight in, gang's back together. What's it like being back together for the festival?
I hate these people.
It's great. Sarah, Zach, and I got here 2 days ago, and we partied a little bit. And then these guys came in. Bill got in the morning yesterday, and we partied a little bit. And then last night, everybody else got in, and we partied a little bit more. So it's just like old times.
Pulled an all-nighter, and now...
And then went right to work.
It was so nostalgic last night to be sitting around with the gang telling old stories and talking about all the people we love and stuff. It was really emotional. I'm not an emotional guy usually, and the first thing Donald said to me this morning was, he said, "You almost cried last night," which is so grade school, by the way. I'm still mad about it. But I did. It made me really happy.
What was it that almost got you?
For me, it was seeing everybody again. I love all these people. I don't just want to work with them. I like being around them. And then walking down the streets of Austin as a group for dinner and having people that were just going out to have a night do double takes and go, "You from Scrubs?"
We changed streets on the way home from dinner because there were so many drunk people that it was becoming hard to get home.
Well, I think it would be overwhelming to be drunk on the streets of Austin.
And the entire cast of Scrubs walking by.
Not just one of you. I mean, it's the entire cast.
Yeah, we were walking in one group.
We've hung out over the years, but this is the first time in years, obviously, since the beginning of the pandemic, that we've all done this. And Bill took us for this amazing dinner last night, and we were like, "Thanks for dinner, Bill, and thanks for a career."
Right,
by
very
the way,
much,
because
yeah.
this job changed
all of our lives.
And not just your lives. I mean, one of the things that we hear time and time again from medical professionals is this was the show that made them want to get into medicine.
Of all of the medical shows, this is what universally doctors and nurses say was the most accurate. I think that's such a testament to Bill, because he always said, we're going to be very silly sometimes, but I always want the medicine to be completely accurate so it balances it out.
Bill, you're not a doctor.
Not yet.
I'm not a doctor, but I guarantee you everybody on the panel agrees the one thing from this TV show more than any gig I've ever had is you and your entire extended family use it whenever you're in a medical situation at a hospital. Whenever you're in a hospital or getting a surgery, just to be like,
I know.
"You guys are Scrubs. Make sure I don't die."
Do you guys get a lot of calls from friends saying, "Hey, I know you're not a real doctor, but I've got this condition"?
No, but we all call, this is inspired by Bill's college buddy, a doctor, cardiologist now named John Doris. And I don't know about you guys, but we almost all call him as a second we have a medical problem. Because I text him, I'm like, "Does this look bad?" You know.
Definitely a mistake to give me his number. I'm kind of a hypochondriac a little bit.
Kinda.
He's the real JD, so we call him Real. So we're always like, "Real, we have a problem."
And he was your college roommate?
My college roommate. He ended up having Dr. Kelce's job. He's on the news for giving the first vaccine in LA. He ran the vaccine program for all kinds, a huge cardiologist and surgeon out there. He doesn't go by JD anymore because he said it's too exhausting to keep explaining to med students. So he goes by John now. He's like, I can't, when I'm trying to tell somebody to not kill someone, it's too hard for me when they go, "Was it all based on you? Who's Elliot?"
So when you went to school together and you guys were roommates, you probably saw him partying. I mean,
Dude, he was a disaster.
Really?
Yeah, this show exists on some level because I said my nightmare knowing who he was in his early 20s would be to wake up in an emergency room and see that idiot over me. You're going to be fine, man. And I'd be like, I don't feel good about this at all.
And that's what we saw in the show.
He's a great guy, though. Great. And this is good Scrubs trivia. You guys see if you guys can get it. Elliot is based on JD's wife. Do you know JD's wife's name? Because I'm bad at naming characters. I named another character after her on our show.
Dolly Clock,
Molly Clark. Heather Graham played Molly Clark, who's Dolly Clark. Dolly is JD's wife, who is actually Elliot.
Is it hard to keep track of all the people you have had on the show?
Yeah, it's a testament to aging. It's really hard. And I just started watching the episodes now. My child is watching the show. So they're always asking me questions. When you did this, did that happen? I was like,
Did all your kids watch?
No.
My youngest, Henry, he's 15. He finally, because he resisted, and then he finally watched it during the, when we were all kind of locked up. And so underwhelming, by the way. I know he enjoyed it, but he's a cool 15-year-old. And I walked in when he was finishing the 8th season, and I go, "What'd you think?" He goes, "Hey, pretty good. You want to go get pizza or something?"
One of our other writers, Matt Tarsis, was excited that his kids finally wanted to watch. And, the show is pretty darn risque still. And he walked in and he was watching some intense, sex scene or something between characters. And Matt was like, "All right, enjoy. I'm going to go in the other room."
It's always impressive how people are, it's literally a show about death. But all those sex scenes make people uncomfortable. When we get to that place where we're talking about they're not as worried. And that's a testament also to Bill to surround what it really is about with humor. All those things that are inevitable in life and try to have some fun and some sex.
Well, I can't imagine what that was like when you first started, because it was a comedy and yet death is such a big role. How did you get that on TV? Death and comedy.
I think, look, it's a testament to the actors and actresses here that worked, because it's very hard to do really silly stuff and then have things with emotional stakes and have it switch on a dime. But I think we all operated under the belief that the show was going to go away, because that's how TV worked. Neil Flynn and I, we were talking last night, even though it's now lore, we had a conversation that I always thought for a second he was going to be a figment of Zach's imagination.
You people, you think of me as nothing but the janitor.
So he never talked to any other characters at first, really, just because I thought the show was going to be on and off, so quick. So for us, just getting to do it for so long is such a gift. And for me personally, getting to hear all these folks say such nice things about the experience, especially how I think we've all tried to kind of recapture it since then, was kind of really special.
That's the crazy thing, is that you go to other sets and you're like, "We're like family, guys." We're like, you try to force it. We're like family. We're like family. And it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like this ever.
Right.
It never feels like this. It gets close, but never like this.
No eagles on other sets.
Listen, man. I found my life partner while making this show, man. It's like.
By the way, this is going to be on the Today Show.
Exactly.
Your wife's going to watch this.
Oh, my wife is watching? I found my life partner, Casey Cobb, while making Scrubs. And we have 2 beautiful children together.
I didn't hear that.
What's the thing that you guys must get people asking you to eagle all the time?
Eagle!
Judy, Sarah, Johnny C, do you get people?
Girl's name. People want me to call them a girl's name. And there's a couple of go-tos, and then I keep walking.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Susan.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Susan.
He cross-gendered me.
Donald and I are doing this rewatch podcast where we...
It's called Fake Doctors, Real Friends for all of you.
Yeah, thank you for the plug. It's a very surreal experience because we don't remember a lot of it. But it is our exact sense of humor, obviously, because we find the show very funny.
Oh, Turk, that's a stupid sitcom. I mean, that's a sitcom.
And we were cracking up at stuff you don't remember, but it's you. And it's just such a bizarre experience.
Yeah, it's like I was there, but I just don't remember.
And so we're watching it anew and enjoying it and laughing through 6 seasons thus far. And then you're like, I have no memory of doing that, but that was very, very funny.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was naked as much as I was.
You were naked a lot. You looked great.
We had a rule on that show. This is why the character of the Todd kind of exists. We really wanted it to be about comedy, but sex and love and death all intermixed. And we said, oh, we're going to be risque sexually. And Judy and Sarah were both scantily clad a number of times, but there's a very strong female presence in the writer's room. They said it has to be equal opportunity as far. And so the only way we could make up the gap was occasionally putting Rob Maschio in a thong.
Oh, that's right, the banana
The
hammock.
banana hammock, yeah.
And so the girls would all be like, yeah, Sarah or Judy, one of them had to wear a nightie and be kissing on some guy, so we're going to definitely put Rob in a thong.
And we saw your we almost saw your nipples.
I
They
was
were
naked
always
a lot, and I remember once I had to dance naked in front of Tara Reid.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Today Show-ify this. The minimal covering that was covering my area came off during the dance. And so Tara Reid saw everything I have.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Hey, who's this?
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
I gotta ask about the dream sequences. They were extravagant. I mean, what was the most expensive dream sequence you ever came up with?
The most expensive joke.
And here comes a big one.
Was I wanted Zach to be riding a scooter, and I wanted him to go in a puddle and go underwater completely, and then come up.
Where was I?
And Randall, the line producer we all love dearly, who also played Leonard, the security guard. I still work with him. He's by the way, Randall and I are Turk and JD. We just kind of flipped a little bit. He came into the writer's room and he goes, "This joke's gonna cost $75,000. He's like, "You sure you want to do it?" And at that point, I was, I was not as responsible as I think I would be now. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna be really funny." He's like, "It's a $75,000 joke. You sure?" He's like, "We're gonna have to have a stuntman drive in with the weights attached to his pockets, so he stays underwater."
And destroy a scooter, and then because the holes were needed to be deep enough, they had the city made them. What do you call it when you put wood to secure?
Yeah, it was like we were digging a pool in the parking lot.
They had to come in and make it safe because it could the asphalt could have collapsed on us both.
You saw a manatee down there, right?
Yes, his name was Julian. Yes.
Did he say anything?
That's Julian.
He didn't, and we didn't exchange pleasantries. And then Neil says, "That's Julian."
That was all improv.
To tip our hat to Neil Flynn, that was not in the script. He was just being Neil Flynn.
I think I saw a manatee.
Was his name Julian?
We didn't exchange pleasantries.
That's Julian.
How much ad-libbing did you guys do?
I would say Neil did most of the ad-libbing. We got, we did it the way Bill wanted us to do it, and then he would say play around a little bit. But Neil would just go, it wouldn't be lines for him. It would just be Neil says something funny, and then he would go off and really crush.
1, 2.
Oh!
Yeah?
No!
You owe me $500.
Everybody here, when the show's working, you can tell that the ownership of characters shifts from the writers to the actors and actresses, and everyone here would do stuff that was not on the page that we would use and take credit for. They're all so talented. The one that did it a little less because it was Johnny C, because I was not, always super prepared as a writer, and I would hand John these giant page-long monologues, and I'd be like, "You got to do this word for word in about 45 minutes. So if there's anything I can help you with, you go ahead and let me know.
Is that where the Dr. Cox anger came from?
Interns, flee now! Now, there is just no way you could have known that off the top of that straw-covered scarecrow head of yours.
No, the two things that happened was I was so competitive with Billy that I decided if I was going to memorize this, I was not going to give you a cut point. You're going to damn sure stay on me the whole time. And so I would take a huge breath and then talk in kind of a Martin Scorsese syncopation, and I never gave him a cut point. Foolish me, Billy cut away whenever he wanted. And I was so panicked with being handed on Monday morning a rewrite, which was really much better than when I spent the whole weekend memorizing. I had my room soundproofed because Zach and Donald were responsible for so much mayhem going on in the hallway that I couldn't concentrate. And then for the first year, dogs were allowed in the hospital until one bit another one. And then
Do you remember what you said about the dog? Just so you know, we all lived in a deserted hospital, and we let everybody bring their dogs, and their kids were around, people, and it was family atmosphere. And John came to me once, and he was not joking, and he had dogs, and he said, I will sacrifice one of my dogs as an offering.
I couldn't concentrate.
If we could simply make it so there's no dogs here in the building.
And of course, as karma dictates, because I couldn't stand them the most, because I was in such a panic trying to get the words in my skull, they all peed and pooped right outside my door.
All you would ever hear was Johnny go, "Get out!" And you see some poor dog wandering out of this room.
I couldn't memorize with all this stuff going on. That's why when I listened to Zachy and Donald's podcast, Fake Doctors, Real Friends, which is genius, it's all news to me because I was in my soundproof dressing room trying to remember Billy's words.
So we really did shoot in an abandoned hospital. We didn't have trailers. Each of our trailers were abandoned hospital rooms, patient rooms. And one of the things that made this family so special was we weren't on some giant backlot. We weren't on sets. I mean, obviously some of the sets, like the apartment, et cetera, the bar, they were built into the hospital. But we had our own studio. Everything was in this abandoned hospital. And so it really did bond us with the crew, obviously as a cast. The writers were all there. The editorial was all there. And it was just such a unique experience I don't know could ever happen again because it was like we were on a ship together.
The writers was a big piece of that. Like, and every show since then, like that was my first big job. And I kind of thought, oh, that's how it works. And then on every other job, you don't often meet all the writers because you're not on the same campus altogether. Mm-hmm. And we would all eat lunch together at the lunch tent and the writers would all come too and we'd hang out with them or we'd go down to the writers' room and hang out. And that's, it's not an experience that I've ever seen.
Yeah, you try to recreate it, but every set I go to, it's great to be around actors and everything like that, but it's really about the crew, you know what I mean? And so you really try to, what we had on our set was the crew was just, like Zach said, was a part of the family, just like the actors were. We did everything with them after work. We would go to bars, we had a lot of nights where we all were together. And I try to do that when I go to other sets. And people aren't really up for that, you know what I mean? Especially now with all, with the pandemic and stuff like that. But I don't think I'll ever experience what we had on this show again. As far as
end line, no matter what anybody else says. End line of the piece, no matter what anybody else says.
I was trying to get it.
Everybody here's going for it, by the way.
I was trying to get it. Wait, Your turn.
I'm not going to do anything new. I'm just going to see who they pick. Watch this. I don't think any of us are ever going to have that type of experience ever again.
I've heard some of you say that this was the best time of your lives.
Yeah.
Does that still
I had
stand?
nothing to compare it to. So when we were there, I thought this is amazing. This is how it works. This is how it works on shows. So when you go to another show and, it's more of an individual effort to know the entire crew's name, try to get friendly with the writers and stuff, but it is something because of this experience and how it was set up that we bring or that I bring to another job, and it's impossible to repeat, but it's a wealth of experience and a journey that you can't compare to anything else, but that you can try.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Your chemistry is legendary. How did you get things done? I mean, how did you get through takes?
We laughed so much.
We laughed so hard. Who was the worst? Who was the worst at keeping a straight face?
Watch this.
We discovered
where there was a noise.
We discovered that there was a specific noise we could make, that noise, and Sarah would always start laughing. And so we would mess with her when it was like midnight and the crew was like, we need to go home.
We all have families.
But we would do it so quietly that the crew wouldn't notice that we were doing it.
I was largely my
And
own.
a snort. And a
I was
snort.
largely my own worst enemy.
And when they do that, I was like, why is she still laughing?
I would largely beat myself up because I never liked the camera to cut, and I would just, shy of flailing, putting a right into my eye. If I made a mistake with some of Billy's words, I would have a temper tantrum aimed at me, and then continue.
You'd occasionally hit a wall or a paper towel dispenser.
That's the thing. I feel like Johnny knew where the, there's going to be plywood here, and then this is just going to be an empty wall. Boom!
You don't want to hit the stud.
Right, you don't want to hit the stud.
Yeah, Johnny knew where to not hit the stud.
Where not to hit.
I was just thinking last night how it was the best job in the world because you knew you were going to belly laugh several times a day. And that was just obviously the scripts, but also just we loved each other so much and we cracked each other up. And there was so much downtime that we just laugh all day long. And I haven't had any experience like that ever. I
don't even eat lunch with the crew and everything anymore. I just go right to my trailer.
Well, I think COVID, obviously changed all that.
All of us.
Yeah.
And
You're on other sets and you're FaceTiming them?
Oh, I FaceTime him all the time. I once FaceTimed, we had something that we had to do and I FaceTimed him and he was pissed because I couldn't make it. I was stuck at work. He's like, put the AD on the phone. I was like, get out of here. Don't put the AD on the phone.
I was like, I want to talk to the first assistant director.
Like, no.
Well, and speaking of phones, you had a phone number that you put on the show, and did that
Cal
phone?
Turk.
Yeah, call Turk.
That was insane. I can't believe they let us do that. No one in America can have that number again because they didn't realize what was going to happen. He called up and I'm like, is there an open phone number? Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, because you can't say a real phone number on TV. We've all lived a world of, them saying 555,
Right.
and I want to get a real one. I'm going to put, this is our promotion idea, I'm going to put Turk's phone number on television. We had a map of everywhere in the world that people would call from. And my weirdest experience, because I got so excited that people from everywhere were watching the show, is I took the phone home one night, and these guys all know, I'm going to curse here so we can bleep it out, but these guys all know my wife and who she is as a human being. And I was getting home from work around midnight. I walked up into the bedroom, and I was talking, I answered it, and it was a super fan. And she was like, oh my God, and tell me about this, and tell me about that. And I'm like, well, the cool thing about the show, and Krista goes, hang that phone up. Wait. There's a pause, and then this person on the line goes, oh my God, is that Jordan?
So this was a phone that everyone would answer it from time to time?
It was in the production office, and sometimes you turn it off because it rang literally nonstop. And sometimes it was just, everyone's trying to work, so they would turn it off. The second you turned it on, it would just ring nonstop. And so it would just get passed around. Like you'd randomly pick it up and go, hi, and someone would be calling from like Australia. And then and you'd hand it off to Donald, or you'd hand it off to anyone walking by. But if it was on, it was ringing.
Speaking of phones, I mean, have you guys received Scrubs gifts? Because they're everywhere. I mean, I use your gifts all the time.
I haven't received any, but I've seen one my favorite one is when we're rubbing our faces against each other.
I see it all the time.
That's my favorite one.
I get Elliot digging her own grave. That one gets sent to me.
I get Carla.
Carla looking sassy.
There's one that has a subtitle that screams internally. When I'm screaming.
I've seen yours because your biggest one out there is man not caring.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
It seems as though a younger generation is now discovering Scrubs and going through it all over again.
That's great.
You have young people, you don't understand, your show got me through nursing school. And then you realize, oh my God, that was 20 years ago. It's happened so fast, and it's also like what you were saying, watching a show that's hilarious, you're kind of outside of yourself. So it's kind of, I'm a fan. So an episode will come up and I'm like, it's kind of like scrolling through your phone. You just watch it, and through TikTok, this thing that I don't have and I've never. My kid has become hip to the show, and they love it. It's amazing.
I still feel like 2001 was 2 weeks ago, to be honest with you. It really does feel that way.
Hey, look, it's a good segue to everybody here was talking last night about how grateful we are. So it's just not patting ourselves on the back, it's how grateful we are that people still watch, still care, still are invested. It's such a gift. And Scrubs trivia for when these guys get to their my podcast. My podcast is doing very well, by the way. It's called Fake Doctors, Real Friends. Thanks, guys. I put it together. I hired Donald and Zach, needed some work. But here's some trivia. Is in the finale of the show, the real finale, which is season 8, Zach walks down the hall, and the speech he gives, we really spent a weekend trying to write a speech that is both about being a doctor and about being an actor, actress, or TV writer. And his speech is really about what it means to do what we all do, because he says if you can even just make someone feel better for a second, that's all you can really ask for. And so for us, all of the people that take the time to come to us individually or online and tell us that this meant something to them, this is a great opportunity to say thanks, because I know we're all really grateful.
One of the coolest parts was over the pandemic, all of the doctors and nurses that we heard from.
Yes.
That was super special.
And that was also great to do doing the podcast. It was nice to have people call in, and actually not just that, but also it was like it's a love letter to all of the people who were on the front line for COVID and stuff like that. That was nice to give back to them and tell them how much we appreciated them while we were going through, which is not over apparently, this pandemic for the last year,
I have an
2 years and a
idea
half.
for an ending. The poison dance?
No, that's not happening.
It would make me so happy.
Yeah, I know. It would make everybody so happy, but that ain't happening.
As I recall, you showed up to work, you were late, and you didn't know what we were shooting that day.
Right, no.
And he walks in the room, and they go, "You haven't read it?" And he goes, "No." I go, "Oh, you're dancing to Poison."
And I was like, oh, okay. And the whole room is packed with cast, crew, writers, everybody. Like, I was like, is this an event? And
who are we gonna watch?
What's going on? And they're like, you're dancing. And I was like, oh. And they played the song. And I mean, come on, man. I grew up on New Edition, and I grew up on Belle Biv DeVoe, so that was really easy. And then Fortnite took it. I am forever a legend, and I'm very honored. Listen, I am forever a legend to my children who play that game, because they're like, Dad, I'm doing your dance! And so,
You suddenly become relevant to your kid.
yeah,
right?
at one point I did complain about it, and I had every 12-year-old boy twittering or TikToking how much of a loser I am. And then my son looked at me and he said, Dad, this makes you an even bigger legend. And I was like, yeah, I'll accept that.
We were at a pool yesterday, and they started cranking TLC's "I Don't Want No Scrubs," and Donald's like, "Don't start dancing. Do not start dancing. Don't embarrass us at this pool by start dancing to TLC's Scrubs."
Well, I won't tell the story, but
well,
you know
there have
why.
been a couple times when we've been overserved and we couldn't help ourselves.
Yep.
But dance too. I don't want no scrubs.
That's right, in the middle of a club. I don't want no scrubs.
He's almost going to do it.
That almost happened.
Almost happened.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We've got a jam-packed Pop Star Plus for you. On the show today is the woman behind the voice of Bart Simpson. Of course, Nancy Cartwright shared some memories from over 30 years of The Simpsons. And Brian Baumgartner, who played Kevin Malone on The Office, he spoke to us about why fans love The Office so much. And later, Fran Drescher told us why every human should own a pet. And our buddy Leah Remini revealed what she likes to watch. It might surprise some people. All right, that was a good teaser for you. Let's get to today's first item. It's Nancy Cartwright. She might be the most recognizable voice from The Simpsons because she plays Bart Simpson. She's the voice. She's been behind the naughty and rebellious Bart for 30 years in The Simpsons, and she told us what it's been like to be part of such an iconic show.
You know, when I was cast as Bart, it was such a dream come true for me, because I think everybody has a little bit of Bart Simpson in him or her, you know, in them. It's true. We all have these personalities. We're such a conglomeration of so many personalities. I describe Bart Simpson as being a 10-year-old school-hating underachiever and proud of it. That was the description that I read in the original audition when I went. And I was supposed to go in for Lisa, but I decided I wanted to do Bart, and he just seemed more interesting than an 8-year-old middle child. His description was so much more clear. So I went in, and Matt Groening was there, and I had an idea in mind, and I said, blah, 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 blah. He's like, oh my God, that's him, that's Bart. And I was hired, boom, on the spot.
Eat my shorts.
Eat my shorts.
I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?
I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you? I think Bart Simpson's probably got the most catchphrases of anyone. It's, I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you? Eat my shorts. Get bent. No way, man. Cowabunga. Whoa, mama. I mean, all these things are like, whoa. Score. It's such a hard question to answer about, like, what's my favorite. I don't really, it's kind of like asking who's your favorite kid. There's a good handful of episodes that definitely rank up there. Some of my favorites are the musicals. I love the musicals, like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, you know, that's a really good one, because that's that takeoff on Mary Poppins, and Sherry Bobbins is so funny, and the singing of it is just crazy. You know, if you want to be our sitter, please be sweet and never bitter.
If you wish to be our sitter, please be sweet and never bitter. Help us with math and book reports. Might I add, eat my shorts, Bart?
Oh, when Bart gets an F. That's the title of it. It's the first show of the second season, and kind of humbly speaking, I guess, modestly speaking, that one, it got a lot of attention. And it takes Bart, it turns him into, from the first 13 that we did the first season, that episode really shows you a level of Bart Simpson that you had never seen before. And he goes into, he just gets really, really sad. And he's super sincere about how he tried to study. And he starts to cry because he feels like he's going to flunk the 4th grade. And that stands out in my mind.
What's the matter? Well, I would think you'd be used to failing by now.
No, you don't understand. I really tried this time. I really tried.
Early on in the show, it was made very clear to us that the actors are not the stars of the show, that the characters are the stars of the show. And nobody had any problem with that. I don't think anybody had any idea that the show was going to go on, 33 plus years and turn into the icon that it is. But instead, we're all like armpit to armpit, elbow to elbow in one little tiny booth that was not meant for recording in. So we had like moving carpets up on the walls because one big wall was all glass, and when we spoke it would vibrate, so they had to put a carpet in front of it, and we would all share the same microphone, armpit check, and here I am very pregnant. It was a lot of give and take from all of us actors, but it was, I look at that and like, that is such a humble, modest beginning for what came to be, it's pretty cool. When I meet fans, it's like, it's pretty cool because most of the time I'm not recognized. Most of the time I'm just this anonymous celebrity, and it doesn't matter where I am, because I don't look like him, my skin's not yellow, 9 spikes, I'm not a 10-year-old boy. But I can have more causation over revealing who I really am. And so if it's just a spontaneous thing and I'm talking to somebody and I ask them, so what's your name? And they say, oh, my name's Katie. And I'll say, oh, hi, Katie, I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you? And it is just like the jaw drops to the ground. And it's equally fun for me. It still is to this day. I love surprising people. And it's kind of a cool thing. It sometimes pops people out of their funk. And isn't that kind of what we need right now? We need some kind of enlightenment. We need some humor, some lightness, some aesthetics. One question that people like to ask me is, why is The Simpsons so successful? How has it lasted this long? And I think it actually doesn't even matter what, this is funny to say this, what decade you look at, because we're in our 3rd decade. That's crazy. But no matter what decade you look at, The Simpsons has a consistency in the business model, in the way that it's done. It's got this family that has its own kind of rules or lack of rules, and they're kind of a nice quote unquote normal family. And I do think they represent a lot of people that can say, wow, that's us. Whether it's The Simpsons or all the citizens of Springfield, it's like people can find things that they can relate to. And that has been such a success, and the tip of the hat to the writers and the executives on the show.
Thanks to Nancy for sharing all those memories with us. Next up, we're revisiting the Dunder Mifflin Paper Company with The Office star Brian Baumgartner.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/plan your vote today.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
Welcome back to Popstar Plus. We have Scranton, Pennsylvania on the mind for this next flashback interview. Hard to believe it's been 17 years since the premiere of The Office, the hit TV show about the work lives of paper company employees. Brian Baumgartner played the lovable Kevin Malone and weighed in on why he thinks people still love the show so much.
At least once a year, I like to bring in some of my Kevin's famous chili.
At least once a year, I like to bring in some of my Kevin's famous chili.
I want to eat pigs in a blanket. In a blanket.
Nope, it's not Ashton Kutcher. It's Kevin Malone. Equally handsome, equally smart.
Well, Kevin Malone, how would I describe Kevin Malone? I think Kevin Malone is a man of some unique skills, who is misunderstood in a way. His childlike sensibility fits into the rest of the ensemble of The Office very well. I had such a blast playing him and continue to be delighted by how fans react to him. I do think that of all of the other actors and characters on The Office, I do think that probably I'm the most dissimilar to mine.
My Kleenex shoes were a huge conversation piece, but man, my dogs are barking.
But, you know, look, I loved his ability to be in the moment. I used to say he has no memory of what happened before or any ramifications for what might happen in the future. But in the moment, if he enjoyed a moment, he was willing to show it. Often didn't think too far ahead, but I had a blast playing with him. And you know, our little group in the corner, the accountants, Oscar and Angela and Kevin, I describe it as kind of a perfect comedy triangle.
Well, I need to give my cat up for adoption.
The one who uses the doorbell, or the one with the Mexican hat, or the one with the rain galoshes, or the one that you let go around naked?
Which had nothing to do with us, which had to do with the writers and the construction of the characters. But the way that the alliances kept shifting, their specific personalities and how they played off of each other was so much fun to do for almost a decade. I think for me now, my favorite episode would have to be Stress Relief, otherwise known as the Dwight's fake fire drill.
Oh, here's a door. Check that one out. How's the handle?
It's warm. Okay, go to the back door.
Another option. Another option. Jeez. Okay, settle down, everyone.
And I think, you know, for me now, there's so many great episodes, but I think for me, what was happening outside of the show carries special significance for me as well. So I think it's a hilariously funny, well-written episode.
I saw a friend today, it had been a while. We forgot each other's names.
A lot of things spring to mind thinking about the finale. I basically shot the show my 30s. My whole 30s was dedicated to being together, which is high school and college, and then 2 more years, spending a lot of time with those people. So, you know, it was really knowing that whatever happened, the friendships would be there, relationships would remain, but we wouldn't be spending 60 to 70 hours a week together anymore. And that was going to be a huge change for us. So a huge feeling of loss, but also tremendously proud of the journey that we had and the fact that we chose to end it. We had a story that we wanted to tell, and we made sure that we got that story in and told it, largely with the original people who were cast. I mean, I don't think anyone who was on the show could have ever guessed that the show would end up becoming what it has become today. I mean, we almost made a pilot and was never on the air. And then, the fact that an audience picked up on it, I always knew what we were doing was special. If people gave it a chance, I just thought, well, people aren't going to give it a chance. So I'm tremendously proud of the show. As I say to people, I'm a fan of the show and love watching it, and I'm so proud to have been a part of it. In examining through this book that I have coming out, Welcome to Dunder Mifflin, one of the things that we are looking at is why the show has not just survived, but has thrived 8 years after we have filmed anything. And I think that it's really about the people. It's really about the construction of the idea and the aesthetic of the show that was so really revolutionary and groundbreaking at the time, but the hiring of the specific actors to play the roles and the writing staff that was brought in, which are now the top comedy writers in television today. It was just a special and unique collection of people led by Greg Daniels, who, created the show, and his genius in finding the perfect people for their job. That's really why I think.
What a classic. We love that show in our house. Hope you enjoyed that one. Office fans, it was for you. Coming up, we've got nanny star Fran Drescher sharing the key to easing her anxiety. It happens to be her furry friend.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/planyourvote today.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
And welcome back to Popstar Plus. Did you know that Fran Drescher is a huge dog lover? She's even had a famous dog of her own. Get this, Chester, that's the dog on The Nanny, was actually Fran's real-life dog. She told us all about that and how her pets have shaped her life in this episode of our series, My Pet Tale.
I starred on The Nanny, and I wrote a part for my first dog ever, Chester Drescher.
Oh, Chester, I haven't seen you in such a long time.
Nanny, fine, please. He doesn't like strangers.
Chester was an amazing dog because he was extremely consistent in his behavior. We knew what he would do under certain circumstances, so we wrote towards that. And that was why every time, Cece Babcock grabbed him away from me, we knew that he would growl.
Oh, how thoughtful.
So we always had her do that.
You need some time to get used to you. I mean, you can't expect a dog to just jump into your arms and love you at first sight.
Mr. Sheffield. Oh, you got her a puppy? Oh, how sweet. Oh, look how friendly he is.
And it was great working with him because he was always on the set anyway. I'm always of the camp, must love dogs. I have a dog now, Angel Grace, and I rescued her just days before lockdown, and then she rescued me. And for the first couple of months of our relationship at my house, it was just her and me. I don't think she really knew what was happening, but all of a sudden, it was just the two of us for a couple of months, and so it really did bond us. And we're very, very close now, and she's 3 years old, and I travel with her, and she's my service animal, so I'm just very grateful to have the first big dog I've ever had. And, she gives me added security and helps me through situations that sometimes would otherwise make me anxious. She's kind of different shades of white and bone, and I thought she was so loving when I met her at the rescue place and so sweet that I said, are you an angel? Did Samson send you to me? And Samson was the dog that sadly had died just days earlier from a stroke. I said, are you an angel? Is that your name? And it just seemed suitable to her because she is such an angel. She is definitely a big part of the family. She's got all these other mothers who come and take care of her if I have to go out of town and I can't take her with me. Dog is God spelled backwards, and I think that dogs are here to teach us unconditional love, to remind us that there's room in our hearts to love another, even if you've loved and lost. And I think that every human should experience unconditional love. It's just a bond between two species that really is unparalleled. I just, couldn't live without having a canine to love and care for and feel loved by and share my bed with. Just be there as a friend and a companion and company. They're wonderful company. In fact, as a cancer survivor, I always tell other people recently diagnosed, make sure your pet sleeps in the bed with you, because at night is when your imagination and fear starts to run wild because you don't have the distractions of the day. And if you don't have a pet, get one.
Well, it's really nice to hear people's pet stories. They mean so much. All right, still to come, Leah Remini breaks down her must-watch list.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel calm?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this? Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to spend some time with you. Appreciate it. Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
And welcome back. We absolutely love learning more about our friend Leah Remini. When she can't fall asleep, she turns to one particular show, and it just might surprise you. She spoke to us for our What I Watch series.
When I have to fall asleep, when I can't fall asleep, I put on Forensic Files. Don't know why. Listening to stories, people being murdered, gets me to sleep. That's probably, a psychologist would probably have an answer.
It was a delivery he never expected.
The older version of Forensic Files, the guy's voice, it's so soothing. And he's like, and then they found her decapitated. Something about the guy's voice. I don't know what it is. What I watch when I need comfort food is a reality show. Pick any one, Housewives of any state, or I watch a Love Island, or I watch Below Deck, basically Bravo. What I love about reality shows in general is that I just feel like it takes me away, like it's a mind vacation. I find myself not multitasking in my brain, like when I'm watching something that's newsworthy. I start to think about all the things I need to do in my life, things I'm not doing right. I think I should be a better daughter, a better mother, a better this, a better aunt, a better sister, But when I watch reality shows, it's almost like my mind is suspended. It is literally frozen. And the picture I get of myself while I'm watching reality shows is just kind of drool coming. It isn't, but that's what I picture myself doing because it's so mind numbing. My daughter Sophia got me onto Love Island, but only UK versions. We find that to be the better versions of Love Island. It's a little riskier. So I really tend to go to those, or I'll watch a marathon of Say Yes to the Dress. It's the not having to think about changing the channel so it's usually if I see there's 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons of something, I'm in, because then somehow I fall asleep and then I'm like, wait, how'd I get on season 4? And it's just anything that has multiple seasons. What I watch that might surprise people, I don't know that what I watch might surprise people. I do watch a lot of documentaries. I don't know that that's surprising to people, but when people talk about documentaries, they're like, you probably haven't seen this. I'm like, seen it. I'll watch a documentary on flies. I just love documentaries. It doesn't really matter what it is. I just love real stories.
Sitting here in traffic on the Queensboro Bridge tonight.
I didn't need to prepare for the King of Queens because I am Carrie. There's no need for me to prep. Oh, she's a girl from Brooklyn married to a neighborhood guy who has a crazy father in her basement. There was nothing I needed to prep for. I knew the character. I know the character very well. But what's funny about the King of Queens is that I remember our producers, when I first got the role, we did a pilot and our executive producer was like, why are you wearing makeup? And I was like, first of all, have you been to a borough in New York? Queens, Brooklyn. The idea of what a borough was like, they don't get their nails done, they don't wear makeup. And I was like, first of all, everything from a borough, I'm from Bensonhurst. Don't tell me, I didn't have a lot of money growing up, but my stuff was coordinated. My outfits were matching the shirt, back in my day, it was matching your shirt with your socks, and everything was color coordinated. So the idea of what somebody from New York is was so off, and I was like, no, this girl gets her nails done, this girl gets her hair done, this girl, because this girl is me. So we're not doing sweatpants and I go, and by the way, if we wear sweatpants, it's color coordinated. What I watched when I did a good cry, oh my God. Terms of Endearment, The Notebook, Steel Magnolias. It's about friendships. It's about family. It's about losing people that you love. I mean, it's just, and The Notebook just kills me. Every time. There's not a time. And then Moulin Rouge. I know that sounds crazy, but I cry every time. Every time she dies. Every time. I've seen it 56 times, probably just in the last year. It's a Wonderful Life. Every holiday, crying. Every time. Every time. What I watch with my family is anything my daughter wants to watch. It's not done by votes or even what her parents would want to watch, because as they get older, they have their own rooms, they have their own computers, they can watch whatever they want to watch. So if my daughter says, I want to watch such and such with you guys, I'm like, okay, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Whatever she wants to watch, I'm like, I will watch.
Thanks to Leah for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Well, there you have it. That was today's Popstar Plus. Thanks for being here, and join us again tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye.
Hi. Look, here they come again. We were so happy to see you all today, all day. Welcome to our favorite streaming show, Today in 30.
Yeah, so hopefully you know the drill by now. We take all 4 hours of the show and we compact them, we press them, we stir it, we put it in the oven, and it comes out 30 minutes later.
Hot.
Coming up, we've got the latest on this rare bipartisan deal in Washington, progress on what could be a breakthrough in gun safety legislation.
Also, have we got new concerns over that lifeguard shortage this summer? We're going to show you some tips on how to make sure you and your family stay safe in the water.
And then Carson's going to take us through the breakthrough procedure he just had to deal with back pain he's suffered for years, how it worked, and the hope it may give to tens of millions who've got those chronic lower back issues.
All that and award-winning actor David Duchovny. He joined our third hour to talk about his lesser-known talents. He writes novels. He does everything. He sings, he acts, he writes novels. And we've got to say about a new book that he calls a twisted rom-com for our distanced time.
And we'll look at some of our most popular stories on Today.com, from a heated debate on hummus to the states with the worst mosquito seasons.
All right.
Well, we really got it all.
Let's
it's a
go.
cornucopia, an eclectic mix here on Today in 30. NBC senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haake has been following the negotiations. Garrett, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, make no mistake, there's still a lot of work to be done before any part of this deal can become a law, and some gun safety advocates say it doesn't go far enough. But this morning, lawmakers in both parties are calling this a major breakthrough.
After decades of deadly mass shootings, this morning the U.S. Senate finally has a deal on gun safety that lawmakers believe could save lives. A bipartisan group of 20 senators announcing the framework for a bill to take on gun violence.
We're looking to make some meaningful common sense changes.
Their plan includes incentives for states to set up so-called red flag laws that allow courts to take guns away from people deemed dangerous. It makes major investments in mental health, suicide prevention, and school safety. It also prevents domestic violence offenders from purchasing guns by closing the so-called boyfriend loophole, and sets up a mandatory review of juvenile and mental health records for gun buyers under 21, a step that may have blocked the 18-year-old Uvalde shooter from buying his weapons. The agreement does not include banning assault-style weapons or raising the age to buy them from 18 to 21.
It's not everything the Democratic caucus would have wanted, but it's a significant step forward.
The president writing the framework would be the, quote, most significant gun safety legislation to pass in decades, and urging Congress to get it to his desk as soon as possible. Republican leader Mitch McConnell also issuing a supportive, if non-committal, statement Sunday. But with 10 Republicans already signed on to the deal as announced, a finished bill could overcome a Senate filibuster even without his support.
I am hopeful that we will get more than 10 of our Republican colleagues.
The negotiations wrapping up as gun safety supporters rallied in 450 cities from coast to coast this weekend, hoping to keep pressure on lawmakers to make this time different. Some of that pressure had also come from Matthew McConaughey's emotional appearance at the White House last week. McConaughey releasing a statement on the agreement, recounting how he asked a senator last week to name the best change he could imagine, and the senator simply said, something. Now McConaughey says for the first time in 30 years, something has happened.
The negotiators say they'd like to get this to the president's desk by the end of July. That's fairly fast for Congress, especially when they don't actually have a bill written yet. One possible complication, the NRA. The powerful gun lobby says they're not reviewing a framework, but they'll look very closely at the final bill and will oppose anything they consider gun control or something that might chip away at the Second Amendment. Savannah?
And Garrett Hake on Capitol Hill. Thank you, Garrett. Can't be summer without a trip here or there to the pool or to the beach.
Yes, that's right. But this year, a nationwide shortage of lifeguards is raising some new concerns about swim safety. So, how can you make sure your family's protected in the water?
NBC senior national correspondent Carrie Sanders is at a beach in Florida with more. Hey, Carrie, good morning.
Well, good morning. Here at Hallandale Beach in Florida, they have professional year-round lifeguards. In fact, they'll be on duty here real soon. But in much of the country, as you pointed out, there is indeed a shortage, especially in areas where there are seasonal swimming things like going to the beach, going to the pool. And with an economy like we have right now, a very inexpensive day at the beach might be inviting, but absent a lifeguard, it could also be dangerous. As summer heats up, some families are cooling down in the water at their own risk. A major lifeguard shortage is leaving many beaches unguarded and pools understaffed, forcing some to close. The American Lifeguard Association estimating 1/3 of the nation's public pools are impacted.
Summer's brutal, and if you can have an outlet that's cheap, most locations free for kids, that is just priceless.
And swimming in unsupervised waters can be dangerous. In Falmouth, Massachusetts on Saturday, 2 beachgoers reportedly saw a man struggling in the ocean and pulled him to safety, performing CPR until first responders arrived. Police said there were no lifeguards nearby. It's a nationwide problem from Cape May, New Jersey, still looking to hire 24 beach lifeguards, to Austin, Texas, struggling to fill about half of its 750 public pool lifeguard positions as temperatures soared to triple digits across the Southwest over the weekend.
Outside is hot, so you can just chill off in the pool.
The shortage is caused by a wave of factors. Young people have plenty of other job options to choose from, and training courses were canceled during the pandemic. Some pools looking to pull in new lifeguards by upping salaries. Six Flags St. Louis is offering $18 an hour to lifeguards, plus a $500 bonus. With fewer eyes on kids in the water this summer, experts say it's more important than ever for kids to learn to swim early.
We go to the beach and to the pool a lot. I wanted to make sure that she will be safe. I'm, of course, always watching her.
Experts say that's key. Parents or guardians should be a second set of eyes, even if a lifeguard is on duty. Use a buddy system, the 2 in, 2 out rule. And less experienced swimmers should wear life jackets approved by the U.S. Coast Guard in the pool or at the beach. Cooling down safely as this week brings more scorching heat. So whether you're going to a beach or a pool with or without a lifeguard, the best advice is you should also keep your eyes on those who are swimming and ignore the phone, because in way too many cases, those who've experienced a tragedy say, I only looked away for a moment.
Yeah.
Of course, we look at our phones much longer than 1 second.
Yeah.
Guys?
I think a lot of parents not only have their eyes on their kids, but every other kid that's out there. All right, Carrie, thank you.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCNews.com/planyourvote today.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCNews.com/planyourvote today.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
All right, we're back with Your Health. And Carson, exactly 1 week ago, you were under the knife, kind of. A procedure called Intracept to prevent this sharp pain that you've had in your lower back really forever, as long as we've known you.
Yeah, since I had an accident a long time ago. I'm feeling better. It's helped a lot. I'm really glad I did the procedure. Let me break it down here. Almost 20 million adult Americans experience persistent chronic lower back pain. I have for many years, due to that old accident when I was at MTV. I tried everything. Nothing was helping. Things were only getting worse. I've got 4 young children. They're my top priority. I was losing the ability to get down on the ground and play with Goldie or simply have a catch with one of them. Then my back doctor told me about a new procedure that she thought could be a game changer. I had an accident when I worked for MTV in 1997, one of my first years there. My back pain began when I was 24 years old on the road with MTV in Aspen, Colorado, when I injured my back in a snowmobile accident. I was on a snowmobile being shuttled down by ski patrol, and we got into like an accident, one of those really scary moments. I suffered a T12 compression fracture, which in the world of back injuries is actually not that bad. The doctor said, this is gonna be about, and I'll never forget, he goes, pain management, which would be a term that I'd have to come to learn about for the next 25 years. My back pain impacted my mental health. Really all aspects of my life, including my workouts at Tiger Schulman's with my trainer and life coach, Sensei George.
One of the things I gotta commend you for is your spirit and the way you push yourself regardless of what you feel throughout the day.
It gets frustrating when I have to modify so much because of my lower back.
We'll do all types of different exercises to strengthen your back, but at the same time with the injury, you're still limited. Once you get that procedure, I think it's gonna be a brand new you and a lot more sunshine to your days too.
The pain was there, I dealt with the pain, but it didn't really slow me down until later. For 25 years, I tried everything you could think of. Physical therapy, sports massages, even yoga and Pilates. Nothing seemed to work. I've tried literally everything. So this procedure is really considered my Hail Mary. It's like the last thing I could do to possibly get relief because honestly, nothing really worked. It's affected my interaction with my family. Nothing really worked. It's affected my interaction with my family, it really has. The one thing I love to do is just get down on the ground and let them jump on me and roll around and play, and that's the stuff that I can't do, especially with Goldie, my 2-year-old. I'm like, okay, here we go, and I have to get low, and it's like, I ooh and I aw, I've turned into my father. To help solve my back pain, pain management doctor Kiran Patel, who's director of neurosurgical pain at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, told me about a breakthrough procedure called Intracept.
The Intracept procedure is a procedure for patients who have vertebrogenic back pain, meaning the bones in the lower back are what's causing the pain. And these are patients who've had more than 6 months of pain and have failed conservative management.
We're able to now see through MRI and imaging a much clearer look as to what exactly is going on in there.
So let me actually show you Carson's MRI, and you can see the type of changes that are in the bone. What we can see here at the bottom levels of the spine, L5 and S1, we see that there are these white changes here, and that signifies those modic changes, the changes in the bone that are causing his pain.
To stop the pain, the doctor goes in with a probe, heats up the nerve root. That prevents the nerve from sending signals to the spinal cord and then the brain.
So you can think of the basivertebral nerve ablation like turning off notifications on your cell phone.
And that's going to essentially cut off the phone call that your back makes to your brain every time you move and you go, ouch. it's just not going to get that signal. I'm just going to interrupt a phone call from my vertebrae to my brain. On the day of the procedure, I was excited, but also a bit skeptical whether this was really going to work after years of pain.
Today's the day.
I'm so excited.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
I am
I'm
too.
nervous, but
I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
So they're gonna take you in, and they're gonna have you breathe through a mask and give you general anesthesia.
And then what do? You go in very small, 3 millimeter,
Yeah.
like probe incision.
Yeah.
So this is very like non-invasive, right?
This is very non-invasive. So the incisions are literally the size of a baby aspirin.
Have you ever done this before?
Of course I've done this before. No, actually today's the first day.
Good.
You're number one.
Perfect. Yes. From somebody who's like suffered from like lower back pain for so long, it's almost too good to be true. Come on, everybody, pump it up. Slow clap. Here we go. Come on. I love you all. It's been nice seeing you. Hope to see you on the other side. Doing jumping jacks. After about 2 hours, I was in the recovery room.
Everything went really well. I was very happy with where we put the probes. I think we got to the center of the nerve, and I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited. You know, is it normal to feel like a little bit of soreness still from the procedure itself?
Yeah, you might feel like some achiness. So we'll see what happens with the sharp pain in the next few days.
What is the record number of animal crackers that somebody's eaten? I have hope again that I can kind of ramp back up my physical, activities so that I can get back on a healthy path, which is what we all want to do. We all want to be around for a while for our kids.
And for patients who have modic changes and pain with bending and flexing and reaching, that pizza making movement
Right.
and dishwashing movement that you and I talk about.
Yeah.
This is really helpful.
Well, I got away with years of not having to do the dishes. So now I'm a little worried that Siri's going to put me right back in the kitchen because I'm running out of excuses.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I can write your letter for that one.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate everything, and I look forward to the recovery.
All
Look at that.
Look at you.
Carson. Should we do the dishwasher?
Look at you.
Feels good. It really does. A couple of things I just want to say about it. First of all, there was a 4-month appeal process. My insurance covered it.
Okay.
Right? People need access to health care.
Yes.
And it took a long time. I had to write letters. There was appeals. It was a newer procedure. Some people it takes twice as long as that. So hopefully shining a light on it, that process can get better.
Yeah.
Because people need to have access to this, number one. Number two, the mental pain, mental illness versus physical illness. For years, I was too scared to ever get an MRI because of my panic attacks, because that's so claustrophobic. So I put this whole thing off for years. I discovered a stand-up MRI. It's a good option for anybody out there they're worried about the same thing. It's not as claustrophobic, and the imaging I got worked for this. It was suffice.
Is this a cure-all?
It is not a cure-all. But I'm glad I did it. I am like 60 to 70% better. A lot of the sharp pains in my back, like you said, this little bend, almost like at a golf address.
Yeah.
This was the culprit for me in the lower back, and this does not hurt right here at all.
Wow.
So it's really great. I want to thank Dr. Patel, Yael, our crew, Matt, all the guys who had to endure me in a backless hospital gown. Very sorry about that, fellas. There's the crew right there. They were fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
And what else? Yeah, and it's been really. I'm ramping up the physical activity now, but I mean, it gives you hope if you have back pain. I mean, you wear pain. You don't even realize you're wearing it anymore, constantly groaning and.
Well, by the way, you mentioned the mental aspect too. It's like when you're in pain, that also
You
is
teeter on
depressing.
depression.
Yes.
Absolutely. But you know what? Last night, we had a barbecue with my family and friends, and my kids came over to me and said, "Dad, will you play running bases with us?" Which for years I have not done.
Yeah.
And I looked at him. I said, "You damn right I will."
And you beat him.
And I got out
You
there and I
smoked him.
just sat there and just threw them all out.
Wow.
And that's what it's about.
Yes.
It's not about anything else to me.
That
other
and
than be able-
dishes, just doing dishes.
No, not the dishes. Funny thing, I still can't do the dishes. It's weird.
Different set of muscles.
Yeah.
But
Call that man-ralysis.
the takeaway if you're watching at home, get new imaging, take it to your doctor and say, am I a candidate? Do I fit the criteria for Intercept, this procedure that does this ablation of the basivertebral nerve? Just ask about it. It might help you.
That was great.
It's definitely helped me.
Thanks, Carson.
Man-ralysis.
It's a thing.
This is a critical choke point for this fire. from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
it. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Our next guest is a man of many talents. David Duchovny starred on screen as FBI agent Fox Mulder on The X-Files and then as writer Hank Moody on Californication.
Yes, but he's also a director. He's a musician. He's a best-selling author. He's quite the Renaissance man.
My goodness.
David Duchovny. His latest book is titled The Reservoir.
David calls it a twisted rom-com for our distanced time, and we are so happy that he's here to tell us all about it. The premise of it is awesome. Good morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So it's called The Reservoir, and it's kind of, takes place during COVID. This guy's looking out his window overlooking Central Park.
Yeah.
But this view is actually something you've seen before.
As I would do during the lockdown, and I think I was just staring out, in your loneliness at that time. And I just imagined in a rear window fashion that maybe there were some lights across the way that were flashing and were somehow insistently meant for me. So it's kind of an average guy who decides that he's being called to a mythic quest by some Rapunzel in some Fifth Avenue tower, and or it could be the fever dream from his from his COVID. So it kind of devolves into a quest for this guy that leads underneath the reservoir to the key to all mysteries that humankind has ever faced. So it's a slim book.
But it's such a really, I was reading, prepping on it this morning, like such a really cool concept. Was writing during lockdown like therapy for you? I remember you talked about trying to cook last time.
Oh yeah. That was not therapy for anybody.
Right.
Cooking.
So you didn't stick with cooking. Right, but the writing seems
cooking
to have...
didn't stick with me.
Right.
Things stuck too much in cooking. It was not so much it's therapeutic in the sense of I guess what feels good to me as an actor or as a performer or whatever is communicating with people or expressing in a way that might help or enlighten or just entertain. So to me, I guess that's the therapy, and less kind of like getting this off my chest or whatever. So I feel that way about all the things I do if I'm successful at them.
You were in the bubble. You were in this movie in the bubble, which is about a bunch of actors who are filming during lockdown, which is kind of surreal, I would imagine.
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, we were locked down. We shot it in London. We were kind of locked down doing that, and we were in our own little bubble as you guys are. And the funny thing about it was that we play these actors who are so tired of one another in this big franchise that we escaped from our own COVID bubble because we hate each other so much, and it kind of made a lot of sense.
There you go. Can we talk about something Leslie Mann said recently?
What did
before
Leslie
ghosting
say?
Was kind of even a thing. She claims that you ghosted her 27 years ago.
Well, I like to be a trendsetter.
What happened?
She recalls it a lot better than I do because I was the one who behaved badly.
So wait, she says you were in a cab and you just got out?
Apparently. It doesn't sound like me, but I'm not calling her a liar. I'm sure it happened. And
then just never called or just left?
Well, you're making it sound really terrible.
Oh, no, sorry.
We weren't dating. We had just gone out to a party.
Okay.
And I think, I don't know, I honestly, I don't recall a moment of it. So I can't make excuses for my former self, but I will take credit for inventing ghosting. I think that's...
As you should, yes. So you're
But it was
also...
a mistake to ghost Leslie. I'll just say that.
Please. Well,
Clearly it's
she forgives you. It's all good. She forgives you. So you're also a singer-songwriter, which, I mean, you do a lot of things. So you released, released your third album last fall and played a music festival in the spring.
Oh,
how was it?
pants.
Look at this.
Wow.
You're also trendy.
I got those in New Orleans.
So, but how is it to get in front of a live crowd, sing, perform, kind of get back?
It's funny, the first time I was doing it, because I'm not a natural singer, and the first time I was doing it, I was terrified, and I was waiting backstage, and I had this revelation that I could hear the audience, and I just thought, they didn't come here to have a bad time. So I'm not going to get in their way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to get in the way by worrying about myself.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good advice. You know what? I am here for all of this.
Thank you.
He can do everything except cook. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
That's okay.
No, I cooked my son these keto brownies, and there was a big water bug in the middle of it.
No.
Yeah, thank you.
Like
Thank
a New
you.
York-style water bug?
I invented that, too. Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
Protein.
I invented water bug brownies.
I saw that going. That's, wow, pretty disgusting.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Again, the book is called The Reservoir, and it is available right now.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys.
Did you feel phone?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCNews.com/planyourvote today.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys.
Did you feel phone?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Time now for one of our newest segments. It's called This Is Today. Our website, today.com, reaches more than 50 million readers every month. So we've rounded up the most popular stories online, and here to tell us what had folks clicking, today's digital editorial director, Ariana Davis. Ariana, good to see you.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with these ceramic bowls, because I guess they're causing quite the stir online. What's happening?
So an artist named Chi Win basically tweeted for help. She was doing the dishes, and she managed to get two ceramic bowls stuck together. It's just one of those random Twitter relatable stories where she tweeted for help, and everyone was cheering her on, trying to help her figure out, how do I get these unstuck?
Did she get them unstuck?
She did eventually. She basically said that eventually she just left them alone for a couple of days, let her toddler bang on them a little bit, and that's what actually helped them get unstuck.
Wait, don't break it.
I'm not going to break it, but I'm going to.
Our reporter actually interviewed some physics experts who said that you have to let the air equalize. So basically, leave them
You have
alone.
to leave it alone. I think it's too humid in this.
Boom.
Okay, Craig.
I didn't want to give up.
The
Brandon,
magic
our
touch.
producer, even said, have fun trying, but you're not going to get them unstuck. Look at you.
Shame on
All right. The next thing, dessert hummus was a big thing.
This is apparently a thing. Our Today Food team noticed that dessert hummus is on grocery store shelves over the past few years. Hummus obviously is more mainstream, but it's a traditional.
Hummus in it? Is there chickpeas in it?
Well, the only thing this really has in common, this is chocolate hummus right here, with regular hummus is the chickpeas. But traditional hummus is usually more of like a, garlic, tahini, olive oil. But
I don't like that.
Why?
I don't like the consistency of it.
That's delicious. But it's so good.
Chocolate
Wait,
hummus.
so is there like some health value to that?
Not really, other than it's a little bit healthier for you. It's better for you than like Nutella or any of the like caramel spreads, but essentially there's a little bit of debate over whether this can actually be called hummus or not. But it seems like we've got 2 yeses, 1 no.
Wait, so they call it hummus because there are chickpeas in there? That's how
Basically,
they
yeah. But
That's
a lot
not
of
hummus.
historians are like, this is not really hummus. It's basically a dessert spread.
Good.
Yeah.
It's a dessert
All right, so the next thing I was just telling you, I have mosquito bites like everywhere. It's insane.
I get eaten alive by mosquitoes, and unfortunately, I think all of us probably will this summer. This year is going to be one of the hottest summers on record, and so experts are predicting because of the heat and also water, mosquitoes are going to be increased, especially in certain states. So your home state of Kansas, I think also South Carolina.
Always.
You can see on the map here that the states where it's going to be the hottest and also the wettest are going to see an increase in mosquitoes this season.
Okay.
So
Wow. Dang.
So-
bad news for us.
Speaking of bad news, I saw this one. This really concerns me. For folks like myself who enjoy some hot sauce occasionally,
Yes.
hot sauce shortage? There's a sriracha shortage
The
coming?
rumor is true. Hot sauce shortage.
Wow.
So the makers of sriracha basically confirmed that the chili pepper that's grown in Mexico that's used for this, because of weather issues, it's actually having a low quality year this year.
Do we have any sriracha here?
I hooked you guys up.
That's what I'm talking about.
I found a couple bottles,
Thanks, Brian.
but you
started liking this. I've never had it before.
I mean,
You never had sriracha?
Well, recently,
Oh,
and now I love
God,
it.
You might want to hold on to these because it'll be really hard to find them this summer.
Seriously?
They're predicting until after Labor Day it'll be hard to get your hands on a bottle of sriracha. So maybe sell them on eBay if you're.
There you go.
The supply chain shortage is real.
It is real. The hot sauce shortage, everything, it's real.
I'm so itchy right now that we started talking about mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes, it's a
I've like
thing.
noticed all the ones I have now.
I see why people are clicking all over the place. These are good stories.
Well, listen, today.com for more.
Do you want to tell everybody at home what you guys have in common?
She's a fellow fourth-generation soror from Alpha Kappa Alpha University. I was about to say university.
Generations.
Sorority.
We got 3 minutes of that before we went out. Come back anytime. Come back anytime.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, hope you join us again tomorrow, part 1 of our exclusive interview with Amber Heard. This is her first since that closely watched trial.
We'll see you then. Make it a great Monday.
Smells so good.
Oh, it smells like pastry.
What are you doing?
Can we not put your face in the dough? I'm glad it's just us eating it.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dylan Dishes, Cooking with Cal. I can't wait to take a look back at some of my favorite Cooking with Cal segments and offer just a few of those tips and tricks that didn't quite make it into the original episode. In today's episode, we are all about apples. Everyone in my family loves apples, and I use them in so many different recipes in so many different ways. Just ask Ollie. I love taking the boys apple picking. I don't know why. It ends up being one of the most stressful days. Somebody has to go to the bathroom, somebody's hungry. There's no parking because the apple orchards are so crowded outside of New York City, but I am determined to always take the boys apple picking. I just think it's fun. Once you kind of go along that row and there's nobody else around for a little while and you pick the best apples, you kind of sneak a bite here and there. And the best part is I make so many different things with apples that I love bringing a big bushel of apples home and just seeing what we can do with them. For anyone else who went apple picking recently, here are 2 easy ways to use up all those apples. First up, my crunchy apple salad. Cal has a list of the ingredients you'll need for this recipe.
So let's go through the ingredients, okay? What's in our apple salad?
Apple. And zucchini.
Try again, not zucchini.
Salad?
So close.
Celery.
Celery. And what are these? I think you know.
Cranberry.
You've been snacking on those since we started. Do you know what this is?
A nut.
It's a walnut.
Walnut.
And then you know this one.
Yogurt.
Lots of vanilla yogurt. So this apple salad is a perfect after-school snack. It's a good breakfast. It's just a good all-around nice healthy alternative. How's the yogurt doing? Do you want a spoon? Gross. You want to help me with the apple? Let me cut it up into a smaller piece for you. You are actually eating all of my ingredients.
No, not that many.
Chop it up nice and small. You're doing a lot more eating than cooking. What's your favorite fruit?
Apple. I'm throwing it because it's really hard.
While you do that, I'm going to chop up the celery.
Okay.
I like to make the celery really small.
Why?
So that it's not too hard to chew. So Ken, when I was little, I used to eat this all the time, every single morning for breakfast.
Was that a long time ago?
It was a long time ago. Even when I first moved to New York, I used to eat it all the time, every morning for breakfast.
Really? That's weird. Mix it up.
Yeah, mix it all together. All right, what should we put in next? How about some of these?
Yeah, sure.
Sprinkle those all in there?
I can pour it.
Okay. Perfect. And now let's chop these up a little smaller. Just rock your knife back and forth. Look at how small I made these.
Whoa.
So now we got all our ingredients in here, right? And here's the fun part. There you go.
And this is the medium one or the biggest one?
What, bowl or a spoon?
Spoon.
That's the small one.
I have to lick it off.
Did you have to lick it off?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because there's yogurt on it.
So you can add as much yogurt as you want. It's not really a measurement here. It's more just once everything is all nice and combined. Sometimes I'll add blueberries in here.
Oh, I have to lick it off.
Oh.
I just eat it off.
So that's it. Super simple, right? I usually make a big bowl of this and then just scoop it out in the morning, or you can divvy it up into little Tupperware containers and it's good to go as a grab and go snack.
Are we done?
That's it. That's all we have to do.
Are you gonna taste one?
I'm gonna taste one too.
A taste test?
It's a taste test.
What spoon should I use? Is it healthy?
It's very healthy. Up next, we are taking apples from sweet to sweeter with one of my favorite fall treats, apple dumplings with a homemade caramel sauce. You don't want to miss this.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
At 73, Prince Charles is still waiting for the job that is his birthright.
Do we want Charles? Do we want a monarchy?
I'm Keir Simmons, and we'll take on these questions and more in our new podcast, Born to Rule. Listen now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today.
We have a lot to get to this morning, guys. Did you feel calm?
About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me.
One of the biggest names in music. Give it up for Harry Styles.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCNews.com/planyourvote today.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Dylan Dishes, Cooking with Cal. Today's episode is all about using a favorite fall staple, apples. Next up, Cal and I are making apple dumplings with a homemade caramel sauce. This recipe takes a bit more time, a bit more patience, but I promise it's worth it. I first saw this recipe in Better Homes and Gardens' new cookbook. So here's how to make one of my favorite fall treats.
There are a lot of steps, but it's still pretty easy, okay? There's only 3 things. We need the caramel sauce that goes on top. We've got the apples that we're going to fill with this little filling, and we're going to wrap it in pastry dough. So let's get started.
Yeah. This is a hard apple. There we go. That's a nice apple.
Let's add the water. You can't eat everything. Pour in the sugar.
Mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna do half this cinnamon, not all of it. So I'm gonna bring this up to a boil, and this is gonna be our caramel sauce.
We still have some things to do.
You ready to make the filling? All right, what do you think those are? Walnuts.
Walnuts.
And what are those?
Raisins.
Raisins. And we're gonna add
honey.
About a tablespoon of honey. This is going to be our filling for the apples. Dump the salt into the flour.
All of the salt?
Yeah. Do you know what this is?
Mm-mm.
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
This is called shortening. You want to make the shortening look like little bits of peas in here.
What happens if we eat it?
It would taste disgusting. Ready? Like press it down and twist. There you go. Press and twist. Press it hard. All right, now we're gonna add the half and half.
Now can I pour it? What are we making?
Apple dumplings, remember?
Oh, yummy.
Yeah.
Is it dessert?
It is a dessert.
When it's done, can I eat one of it?
Of course.
And you?
Yes.
Smell it so good.
Oh, it smells like pastry. What are you doing? Can we not put your face in the dough? I'm glad it's just us eating it. All right, here we go with our dough.
Oh no, we make the hole.
No, don't make a hole.
Why?
Because no more holes, no holes. I need you to start here and end all the way over here. Nice. Put the apple here. I'm gonna fill it. Can you take a little bit of this?
This is our standard hiding spot.
A little cinnamon sugar. I'm gonna pour this sauce over the dumplings. Carefully. Do you love it? Okay, so if you want to make this apple dumpling recipe right away, you might be thinking I don't have an apple core like I used, but there is a way you can just cut right through the apple. It's tedious, I'll tell you that. In fact, I held off making this recipe until I ordered one of these. Wherever you get, kitchen supplies, it's an easy order. Just wait a couple days until it gets there. But if you don't have patience, just be careful. And I wouldn't recommend doing this part with the kids because you need a very sharp knife and you literally just have to cut around the core of the apple. So make sure you go all the way to the bottom. This is probably the worst part of the whole recipe, is coring the apple. Sure we get through the other side. My kids eat a lot of apples, and whether I'm slicing them or dicing them or doing whatever it is with apples, there's just no good way to get the seeds out. But this works pretty well. Okay, so you can either do it that way if you don't have patience, although I think this way is the way to go. So this is what an apple core does. Basically the same thing the knife did, just in all one big swoop. And get it in there. Twist it, pull it up. And there you go. That was easier, right? So I'd recommend just holding off a couple days on this recipe and wait till you get your apple core. Because that's perfect. So to core the apple with a knife, you want to make sure you use a paring knife. They're nice and sharp, they're tiny. If you use anything bigger, I feel like you're going to cut the whole apple up. And a steak knife would just never work for this. So get yourself a paring knife too.
For all these recipes, go to today.com/DylanDishes.
I'll do the chocolate chips. No, I want to. No. Fine. Yay. Let's pour it at the same time, Alexander. 3, 2, 1. Whee! My name's Alexander Charbonnet, and this is Kids in the Kitchen. My name is Alexander Charbonnet. I'm 7 years old, and I'm in 2nd grade. I started cooking when I was 5 for my mom and my dad and my sister. I started my cooking channel 2 years ago when I was 5.
Hi guys, hi friends, welcome to my show. Kids Can Cook with Chef Alexander. We are making banana muffins with no egg, because I'm allergic to egg.
My egg allergy makes me sad, but I'm more sad because I can't eat stuff like other people. Because of my allergy, I can't eat cookies or donuts or like cakes or like a lot of stuff. My mom is awesome because she makes eggless stuff like cookies, cupcakes, and regular cakes. But my mom and I bring treats like cookies without egg to school with me so I can enjoy it with my friends. My little sister has a peanut allergy. She can have like peanut butter and jelly, so I feel like she's special too. My mom was the one who taught me how to cook. My favorite part of cooking is I get to spend special time with my mom cooking. My favorite hobbies are playing video games, riding my bike, riding my scooter. I also really love dinosaurs. Here's a fact of some dinosaurs. Did you know that the Allosaurus doesn't have serrated teeth, and it actually uses a jaw? He opens his mouth and he slashes his upper jaw into its prey like a hammer.
We are making donut chocolate donut cakes. So we have this flour, so we're gonna dump it into the sieve.
I want to be a pastry chef because I'm already a pastry chef. I am so excited because today we're making eggless trini, macaroni pie, and blender muffins with apples, bananas, and carrots. First, we're gonna start with the macaroni pie. Here's everything we need to start with. We got butter, we got olive oil, cut up onions, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, flour, mustard, cheese, salt, but we also need elbow and and milk. First, we're gonna make the cheese sauce. First, we're gonna melt the butter and the olive oil over medium heat. Now the next step where you need to add the onions. Make sure you cook it for a few minutes because we don't want the smell of the onions to make us cry. The next step, you need to add the flour and you need to make a roux. A roux is fat mixed with flour. You need to whisk it so it doesn't give that raw flour taste. That would taste horrible. This is what's gonna thicken the sauce since I'm not using egg. Now we need to add the milk to the pot, but make sure to add it slowly because we don't want it to spot all over the place. Now we need to whisk it until it's fully incorporated. Next, we're gonna add the mustard. Now we're ready to put in the spices. We got our onion powder, the garlic powder in, and the black pepper in. And the salt, let's put in the salt too. Bubbling, it looks like lava. This is what we're looking for. I wish you guys can smell this because it really smells good. Now for the best part, we put in the cheese. Now we're going back to mixing. The sauce looks like this. This is a little hot, so you know who I need? Mommy! Almost there, up. It's important to incorporate the pasta into the cheese sauce. We're gonna put in a greased baking dish and then we're gonna top it off with cheese. This looks great. Now we're just gonna add some cheese to on the top. I need to pop this in the oven, so I need to call Mom again. Mom!
Oh, it looks good. Okay, I'm gonna open your oven for me.
Okay. Thanks, Mom.
Oh, no, thank you. Good job.
We're gonna let it bake for 25 or 30 minutes. This looks awesome. It wouldn't be complete without my favorite person. Yeah.
We come from a long line of foodies in our family, a long line of cooks, and you're just carrying on that tradition by continuing to be one of the chefs in our family.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Now we're gonna make one of my favorite recipes, blender muffins without egg. They have apples, carrots, and bananas, but to help me, I'm gonna have my sister, Natalie. Come on. Boing. So we're gonna introduce yourself, Natalie.
Okay, so my name is Natalie, and I'm going in kindergarten soon. And my favorite food is fruits and vegetables. I'm 5. And I'm Alexander's sister. And my nickname is Peanut.
And her nickname's Peanut, but she has a peanut allergy. But this also has no eggs, so it's
Isn't that funny, guys?
Now we have this big mixing bowl. So now we're gonna put in all our dry ingredients.
Let's start with the flour.
Put in the brown sugar. Oh, flop. Oh, there's still some. Ah, there you go.
Put it back.
Now we need to put in the white sugar.
Now we
put in baking
soda,
powder, and
my
now
turn.
Let's put in baking soda.
Now let's put in some cinnamon, like for cinnamon rolls. Let's make blender muffins. Mix up. Agitate all around.
Okay.
Your turn.
Now we need the blender, and now we're gonna ask Mom for the blender.
Mom.
Now we're gonna add the apples, the carrots, and bananas to the blender. Let's start with the apples.
Yeah.
Plop.
Plop. Time for carrot time.
We're gonna put in the carrots.
And guys, in case you know, these are for our bunnies, but we use them for baking now. Let's put the banana peel right.
Break it in half and then put the other half in. That might be smart.
In a float. It looks weird.
Wonder.
I'm trying to get the ones on the back. Maybe we should do it together. Let's mix and agitate. Let's mix and agitate. Let's do that.
Now let's add.
I'll add the butter.
Vanilla and let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Wow.
I'll do the chocolate chips.
No, I want to.
No. Fine. Let's pour it at the same time, Alexander. 3, 2, 1. Whee!
Wait, the oats. Ooh, this looks good. Now we our muffin tin. Yep. We get to spray our muffin tin. Yeah, we need to do it 3/4 way full. How about you scoop it and I put it in? These are ready to go in the oven now. And now let's get Mom. Now it's going to take 18 to 22 minutes. Bye, we'll see you on the next step. Oh my gosh, they're done. Now we have to call Mom. Mommy. Some of them are small and some of them are ginormous. Oh my gosh, I just want to gobble them all up in my mouth. These have been cooling for 10 minutes, so they're ready to eat. You did awesome, John. High five. Teamwork makes the yummy dream.